What we do here is go back.
I should really come up with like a thing to do there, and I don't, and I just sort of wing it. So I usually scream "Hello, dickheads" or something. Today you got a croaky hello. How are you? I'm Kevin Logan. It's the Happy Hour. You saw the pig intro, all that shite. Joining me as ever, Dr. Christy Winters.
Yeah, hey. I see that you are the hero America has been rallying behind.
For terms of service reasons, I don't know what you could possibly mean. That is just me at a bus station. I went to a trip to America recently. I don't know if you know that.
I went to stay at a hostel, maybe?
Possibly. I took some Monopoly money, but I lost it somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, the weekend was good, but intense. I was busy on Saturday, but lazy on Sunday.
Okay.
But hit the gym on Sunday, so that was good. Doing back and biceps this next 4 weeks, so.
Fair enough.
That's what I've got on my schedule. How about you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was alright.
Yeah, Packers lost, so that kind of sucks, but what
Well,
are you gonna do? They played the Lions. It's kind of, they're an unstoppable force. There's sometimes football teams should get this magic about them. They like have an inevitability around them.
Well, also they're quite good.
Yeah, that usually helps having the inevitability. Yeah,
that is.
The Lions kind of have that vibe this time.
Yeah, but they will lose because it's Detroit, and Detroit can't have anything nice because it's not 1963 anymore.
I want them to have something nice.
No. Those
I'd
are
be
the
okay with
rules.
the Lions.
I don't make the rules. I just enforce them with ruthless efficiency.
It can't be the Patriots, the Cowboys, or the Bears. That's like my only rules.
Well, firstly, fuck you. But secondly, the Patriots are coming back, baby, because we're going to get possibly the #1 overall pick. So, just say it.
Number one pick.
It's so pathetic. Like we talked about this before. There's a kind of vaguely socialist thing where, like, the people who need most help get the best picks and all that shit.
Rebuilding.
But then to see people like celebrating the tanking process.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we lost again. Fuck yes.
Look, let's just go for broke. Let's just lose the rest of them and definitely have the #1 pick. Let's just go for.
Amazing shit.
Who cares about this year?
Well, having talked about that, the Detroit Pistons, the basketball team, literally set the record for the longest losing streak in NBA history last year. Finished with the second worst record, and because of the lottery, they ended up with the 5th pick.
See, it'd be so much better if they spread that.
Detroit can't have nice things.
Yeah.
It's just the rule of the universe, Christo. They're very much like America's Syria.
No.
Segue.
Okay, is that how you want to? That's a horrible segue, but I guess. Okay.
Oh, hang on. There's no. Hang on. We're addressing that shade. What's happening there?
Well, what was the connection there? How, in any way, is Detroit like? Is it being taken over by? Oh God! You know what? I saw the funniest. Well, okay, it was mocking, but it was a reels. It was two Kurdish guys, and one Kurdish guy says to the other guy, "What's the difference between Legos and the Kurds?"
Don't know.
The Legos have Legoland.
Oh.
And they both laughed, and I thought that was a very kind of like dark humor, but.
True, and Turkey doesn't want to destroy Lego.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Syria is complicated, like most things in the Middle East.
Yes.
Not only they can have just like simple civil wars like we used to have here on the continent.
3 inches overnight.
Some like roundheads versus the
enjoy the snow.
I don't know who is it.
I was going to interrupt, but then I thought I won't. But then I probably should have because there was a voiceover. No one heard that, and I'll just repeat it for you because I think you'll enjoy this, given that it's an Austrian pervert. They call me 3 inches overnight because I'm in dire need of ploughing. Enjoy the show. Thank you, Fogel. Thank you. Anyway, do you want to get onto your serious analysis of Syria again?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my analysis, it's someone else's, but it is an actual, like, if you don't know all the players, don't be, like, I have sympathy. This wasn't on my radar either. But it has bigger, wider implications. So yeah, let's get our political geography, our geopolitical update for this week.
Yeah, did you want to watch the politics with paint thing? Did you? The one you sent me?
Well,
yeah.
Then yeah.
All right, well, that's just the name of the channel. I assumed you would recognise the name of the channel.
I literally just looked at the title. I have no idea who made it, and I watched
Oh, for God's sake!
I don't pay attention to names. I don't know the names of actors in my shows that I love because they're like.
Well, that is a different thing entirely. Anyway, thank you, everyone. We're on a hype train. If we get to level 2 of the hype train, I will. Who will I finger?
Assad's dead political career.
Yeah, well, I already fingered the man himself. I flew to Moscow overnight. Yeah, so I'll do that. I'll the Assad dynasty. I will finger the Assad dynasty because it's over. It's over, lads.
It is so over.
It's never been more Jova. Is all I'm saying. Talking of which, did you know he's still president?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He's like got a month left.
I thought he was dead. What?
6 weeks left or something like that.
Nah, he's dead, Christy. He has to be dead. There's no way he's not dead.
No, that's just your love life, Kevin.
Hey. Anyway, right. So, Syria.
Share, play.
Oh, I need to share. Fuck's sake.
Please.
Sorry.
This also would help me identify which one it was if I could see the screen.
Anyway. Right.
Yeah, that one.
This one.
Yeah, with the cartoons.
The one with the definitely, look, it's strange, isn't it? Just like in Africa, they have lots of straight borders, which must mean they have straight rivers and mountain ranges.
Exactly.
It's the only answer that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yep, straight lines.
You wouldn't be white people in Europe just drawing lines across desert. That would be crazy talk.
Because who would let them do that? Like, why
that would be mad.
That would be mad.
How did they think that was going to work long term?
Just straight line. Yeah. Well, they thought they were going to own it forever, so it wouldn't matter.
True. Oh, hang on. Unmute. It's very complicated, this streaming business. Which is why you should give me money in the form of bits and subs and help me on the hype train. What a segue!
Syria's civil war has been reignited. In late November 2024, a coalition of rebel forces began a massive offensive against the Syrian government, forcing them to abandon huge swaths of...
Yeah?
That was like within the last month. I didn't realize it was this quick, but okay.
Oh yeah, no, it literally is just like it was sort of almost dormant, the civil war, for like 3 years, and then they went, should we kick shit off again? Yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
And yeah, there you go. Thank you, Wolfglen, for resubscribing.
Stop it.
Much love.
Get some help.
Of territory, while various factions grabbed as much land as they could. The government under Bashar al-Assad has now collapsed, and the situation in Syria changed completely. Now alliances are reshuffling while outside powers are trying to influence what is going on. The speed of this development has been staggering. So let's recap. What has actually happened in Syria, and how will the drastic changes affect the Middle East and global geopolitics? To answer that, let's first look at the factions involved and how the situation looked shortly before all of these events. This map shows the political situation in Syria as it basically existed from 2020 until the start of the rebel offensive in late November 2024. In red, we have the areas that were controlled by the Syrian government, led by Bashar al-Assad and the Syrian Ba'athist Party. During the first years of the civil war, Assad's rule was hanging by a thread until Iran, with its regional proxies, as well as Russia, intervened on his behalf, allowing his forces to recapture a lot of territory. Ideologically, Assad represents a wide mix of socialist and Arab nationalist ideas, while in practice, his rule has been characterized by authoritarianism, the brutal persecution of political opponents, and nepotism. Assad is also a member of the Alawite.
Yeah, like in theory, the Ba'athist Party was supposed to be vaguely socialist, but he's just been like a kind of weird kind of religio-nationalist.
Yeah, like Trump.
Yeah.
Basically. Also, we can really tell when people have are authentically raised, like mothers, their native tongue. I was going to say Muttersprache, but their native tongue is Arabic, because the way that they say Bashir al-Assad is so much more melodic than how white people say it. Or any Arabic term, really.
Yeah, Baza. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's so melodic and beautiful. Like, oh, that sounds so much nicer than how white people say it.
Religious minority that predominantly inhabits the coast, which is why his rule seemed most stable there. Then we have the anti-government rebel coalition, displayed in 2 shades of green. The light green area, centered around the city of Idlib, is controlled by an alliance network of numerous militant organizations, most of which can be characterized as radical Sunni Islamist or jihadist groups. The strongest and leading organization here is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or
Now,
See, that's
this-
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Also, interestingly, that group is a prescribed terrorist group in the UK. But because they're now going to be the government of Syria, we're looking to take them off the terrorist list. Because apparently they stopped being terrorists now. Now that we want their oil.
Exactly.
Fucking hell. Like, the Israel thing showed that the international rules-based order was a load of shit, obviously. But, like, it's never been more obvious how pathetically paper-thin that concept is now. Like, we had a good 20 years pretending the international rules thing worked. And international law existed.
They went, oh, but oil.
Yeah.
short HTS, which was formed in 2017 out of multiple such organizations, including the Al-Nusra Front, an Al-Qaeda affiliate. Since 2018, the group has been widely recognized as a terrorist organization, but over the past years, HTS leaders have tried.
What is Alawite? Alawite is a small religious sect within Islam. They're quite liberal, aren't they? I think, and they're generally sort of oppressed by the Al Qaeda, ISIS type lunatics.
To change the outside perception of the group to appear more moderate. They've promised to protect the rights of Syria's religious and ethnic minorities. How sincere these promises really are.
Al Qaeda have gone woke.
Yeah,
Christo.
yeah. They're. I mean, they really need to look at Afghanistan. You need to have like women not even speak to each other. That's how.
Look, Christy, Al Qaeda has
woke.
gone woke. The woke mind virus has infected Al Qaeda.
Yes. I mean, are you looking at something that I'm not seeing, or I'm just seeing the regular screen? If you're sharing something.
No.
Oh, okay. No, you're just calling.
No. I'm because he was saying that this is an Al Qaeda affiliated group and they're okay with religious and ethnic minorities. They've gone woke.
In other countries.
The fuck are you talking about? It's in Syria. What?
Isn't like. Oh no, I'm thinking the Taliban.
Oh, fucking end me.
Yeah, I don't really do Middle Eastern politics. I try to stay away from it. Everybody screams.
Well, that's okay then, because Afghanistan isn't in the fucking Middle East.
I know, but like that's sort of like adjacent of like.
You mean brown people? You mean brown people?
No, I mean you just always go to racism because you're boring and derivative.
Are you from Wisconsin?
You should be.
Is, however, questionable, as its fighters and leaders have a long history of acting in direct opposition to these promises. The current leader of the HTS, for example, was affiliated with both Al-Qaeda and ISIS in the past. The dark green area, meanwhile, is controlled by the Syrian National Army, which is also a collection of various militant groups and some foreign fighters. They too were founded in 2017 at the initiative of Turkey, which is their main supporter and supplier of funds and equipment. Unsurprisingly, the Syrian National Army is closely aligned with Turkey and usually acts in the interest of the Turkish state. They were, for example, not only fighting against Assad's forces, but are also fighting against Kurdish groups in the north and northeast that Turkey does not want there. This is in contrast to the HDS, whose activities are...
Apparently you sound like Carrie Fisher.
Oh, really? Well, she's dead, so that doesn't bode
I
well.
presume prior to that.
Okay, well that would make more sense.
Yeah.
less aligned with Ankara. For example, the HTS has
Take it up with the person who said it.
shown more interest in negotiating with Kurdish-led forces known as the Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF. The SDF controls the Yellow Territories and consists predominantly of Kurds, but also includes some Arab groups in the southeast. Especially their relationship with other actors is quite complicated. It's supported by the US and some other Western states, particularly for their fight against ISIS, but at the same time they had a quasi-alliance with the Assad government for years and got some support from Russia. In the last few years, the SDF has been
they'll
mainly...
just take money from anybody.
Yeah.
Basically.
And, of course, Russia, therefore, sort of going with at least two sides?
At least. Well,
Yeah.
you want to cover your bases in the Middle East. You don't want to just stick to one
do.
side.
Yeah.
fighting against the Syrian National Army in Turkey in order to retain the Kurdish autonomy they've established. Lastly, there are a few smaller factions still worth mentioning. In the deserts of eastern Syria, there are still some small pockets of members of ISIS that are still active. In the southwest, there is a small US-backed group known as the New Syrian Army that controls a desert near the main border crossing with Iraq, where a US military base is also located. And in southern Syria, there are multiple rebel groups that were initially fighting against Assad but later entered into an agreement with the government. But this situation has changed dramatically since the rebel coalition's offensive began in late November 2024. While this attack was surprising to many, it did not occur out of nowhere. Between 2020 and 2024, there were negotiations between many factions and outside powers to perhaps find a political solution, but these went nowhere. In the meantime, Assad's position in Syria weakened as his closest allies got distracted by other conflicts. For Russia, its war in Ukraine is currently taking up most of its attention and resources, while Iran has been focused on Israel and the wars in Gaza and Lebanon. This allowed the rebel coalition to consolidate and prepare for a future confrontation with Turkish support. As a consequence, the Syrian army and its allies were unable to repel the attack, which first caused a massive retreat of their forces in northwestern Syria. Very quickly, the important cities of Aleppo and Hama fell under their...
What is
Isn't this
Aleppo?
complicated? Aleppo, remember? Aleppo was big a couple years ago. Oh yeah, who said that?
Yeah, it was Gary Johnson. Yeah.
Oh god, it's like some failed presidential candidate.
Yeah, literally, and it's so annoying. I can't hear the name of this great historic, not Turkish, Syrian city without thinking of Gary fucking Johnson.
That's terrible.
One of the least qualified people to run for that office since the guy who just got elected.
Yeah, right up there.
Their control, which caused even more retreats by government forces, while defections became commonplace. This encouraged other rebel groups to join the fray as well. In southern Syria, a collection of rebel groups that were previously in an agreement with Assad rose up again, calling themselves the Southern Operations Room. They too made very fast gains, and in a matter of days took over the outskirts of the capital Damascus. Back north, the HTS continued its advance and quickly took over the important city of Homs. In the meantime, SDF units took over abandoned government positions along the Euphrates River. The US-backed New Syrian Army then also advanced, taking over the city of Palmyra in the eastern Syria and moving into Damascus from the northeast. Soon after, all government forces had either fled or surrendered, and local...
Yeah, that's what tends to happen. Soon as they start seeing the tide turn, they go... Oh no, we're on the side of the rebels, honest.
Yeah,
we're one of you guys.
Was it Hemingway in Bankruptcy?
Yes, very slowly and then very quickly.
Yep, and then all at once or something like that, yeah.
Militars took over in places where the main factions had not reached yet, even in the Alevite Syrian coast region that was previously thought to be Assad's stronghold. Within just 11 days, the 50-year rule of the Assad family in Syria had come...
He has the weirdest shaped head. How is his forehead
Which
that
one
much...
are you talking about?
Well, both of them. But his dad, right?
Yeah.
Look how much wider the top of his head is than the bottom of his head. It's like a fucking light bulb.
Look at Bashar. It's like he's got, I don't know, his face is all squished up.
Yeah, it doesn't look quite right.
No, it's like all of it's pushed in the middle. Like it should be more spread out.
It looks a bit like, you know, where you can tell that it's an AI image because it doesn't quite look right.
Or it has 6 fingers.
Yeah, or it's got 3 fucking feet, or something like that. It just doesn't quite look human. If that makes sense.
Yeah, he looks wrong.
Yeah, he does look wrong.
Come to an end. At the time this video was released, the exact whereabouts of Bashar al-Assad were still unknown, but it's
Moscow.
You know, I think what would happen if you took Bashar al-Assad and you stretched his face out, he would look like Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah, actually, fuck yes. Good call. That's excellent work. Yeah. And he doesn't really have a chin. That is true.
It seems that he has been granted asylum in Moscow. But wherever he is, it's clear that a new chapter in Syrian history has begun.
Well, no, to be fair, what the Russians do, because again, it's sort of a mafia group, really, is that they'll take care of Bashar al-Assad for as long as they need to. They've done it with Snowden and various other people. And it's not because they care about those people. It's a message to the other wankers of the world. So you're saying to your allies around the world, by looking after Bashar al-Assad. Even if the shit hits the fan, we got your back, fam.
I don't know. I would advise him to stay out of any building taller than 2 stories.
Look, they're happy if he dies tomorrow. They don't give a fuck about that. But like, they need to tell the rest of the world's knobheads that they support that we've got your back, that we look after our own. So stick with us.
Yeah, if you get deposed while we're paying for shit, you can come stay with us. You can stay at our house.
Yeah.
So you find a new country to rule.
True.
Talk about what might be next for Syria. What does this mean for the major outside players? Among the anti-Assad powers, Turkey might be the biggest winner. It may become the most influential outside player in all of Syria and has reached 2 of its key objectives, to oust Assad and to prop up the Syrian opposition, which is now in control of most of the country. However, this is likely not the end of Turkish ambitions here, because another of their key objectives is to end or at least significantly reduce the Kurdish presence in northern Syria, which Ankara believes is
Yes, they want to ethnically cleanse and genocide people.
Yeah, I don't like if they just gave the Kurds some land and like let them alone. So much of this would just be solved, you know. But I
yes
guess
and no. The problem with the Kurdish situation, as opposed to most other liberation movements, is that mostly usually it's fighting against one power, right? So the Irish want to get rid of the British, right? Or I don't know. The Americans want to get rid of the British, or
I get your yes.
Yeah. Whereas for the Kurdish people, their land that they claim historically covers 4 different countries.
Well, yeah, like give them a part of Syria and go, okay, you're done now.
Yeah, but they'll just go, well, that's also our land in southern Turkey and northern Iran.
Well, I mean, the
and
whole
northern
thing
Iraq.
Yeah, I guess you'd say, well, go fight Iraq then. If I were Turkey, I'd be like, look, we're not going to fuck with you, but you can go fuck with Iraq if you want. We don't care. Just stay on the Syrian side. Let Syria deal with you.
Yeah, but the point is they won't, because they would still claim part of southern Turkey.
All right. Well, anyway. So you've got now. What is Turkey's relationship with Israel?
Antagonistic, but
Not
quiet,
hostile?
because they're part of NATO. So America says you might not like them, but chill the fuck out, brah.
Okay. So we got the Turkish, who are opposed to the Iranians. You got the Iranians who were propping up Hezbollah, but have now lost out in Syria, but they still have Lebanon. And they're really mad at Israel. Iraq is just fucked these days, I guess.
Well,
not really a player.
The problem is, I mean, yeah, they're broken, but the problem is none of these countries. Well, Iran is a real place. Saudi Arabia isn't a real place. Iraq isn't a real place. Syria isn't a real place. Israel isn't a real place. These are entirely colonial constructions. They didn't develop normally. They aren't one unified people of anything.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of aside from the point I was making, which is that it's like there's a lot of competing, overlapping conflict, interest, pushes, pulls, going on here. You've got multiple, actors who have different agendas and different relationships.
That was my point. I was trying to build on your point of saying that even within inside each of those countries, it's not like they've got like a national will. Iran to a degree does. I suppose Israel to a degree does as well. But like inside Iraq, there are Kurds who want all of northern Iraq for Kurdistan. There are there are Sunni and Shiite forces. There's Iran fucking around. There's America obviously been fucking around for 30
Russia.
years. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a horrible hodgepodge of geopolitical wank. Mm-hmm. Basically.
But honestly, is it any different from when the Persians were like, hasn't it always been a little bit this way in the Middle East with the various factions and various groups going back all the way back to the Byzantines and,
Well, it's always been that way everywhere all the time. Mm-hmm. It's only very recently in Western Europe and North America that things have been chill.
Yeah.
Very recently. In the last, literally, like within living memory, there was the
years.
largest war in human history in Europe.
Yeah.
Hey, hello, Lesbian Hot Sauce. Everyone go and follow Lesbian Hot Sauce. Yeah, I did cover yesterday Israel doing a land grab of more of the Golan Heights, which they don't deserve.
Does come up. Yeah. That's going to be a problem. Yeah, Israel's fucking around again.
But they're only taking temporary control of it until the situation calms down. Because Israel famously, when it takes land, gives it back.
Oh, definitely. They're not colonial at all in that approach. They're
No,
definitely
no,
just
no, no.
borrowing it like the marbles.
Yes.
We're not done looking at it.
Exactly, it's ours. It's ours. Well, did you see the marbles story this week?
I think there's negotiations.
Indeed, it's the most promising the situation has been in a while. But as always with perfidious Albion, it's not for the goodness of our own heart that we might give them back. We want good relations with the Europeans again because we want a fucking trade deal.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get the Greeks on board by giving them their own shit back, we might get something nice out of it.
Amazing, right? That's like basically like stealing somebody's car and then negotiating that they give you money, like
selling it in them back.
Yeah.
Amazing shit. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, so fuckery abounds.
Yeah, we get to the Golan Heights here very, very quickly in this video.
Fair enough.
It will be mentioned.
Strengthening Kurdish separatism within Turkey. The United States is also very happy about Assad being gone, which also likely means an end to Russian and Iranian influence here. However, there are
Well, not really. The problem
A temporary reduction.
It's definitely a reduction, and it's definitely a defeat for Iran / Russia. Mm-hmm. But they've still got a lot of their forces on the ground.
And a lot of influence.
A lot of influence. Yeah. The dynamics of it don't change that fundamentally. So yeah, it's and I think the West needs to be very careful. It's given me big Saddam Hussein vibes. Getting rid of Saddam Hussein, good. He was a bad dude. Is what replaces him better? Mm-hmm. Is the amount of suffering and fuckery and war and death and destruction worth it overall? Now, considering that literally the grey pockets you can see on that cartoon there are the remnants of what we did by fucking up Iraq in terms of getting rid of Saddam Hussein and allowing ISIS to become a thing in the first place. No, I don't think getting rid of Saddam Hussein actually was a net benefit for anybody. Mm. So it's sometimes it is the better the devil you know. Gaddafi, getting rid of Gaddafi, good. Gaddafi was a piece of shit. Now they've got slave markets. Mm.
Yeah.
Sometimes you.
So what kind of evil do you want? Basically?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Sometimes there's. I mean, without wanting to invoke his deadness, the realpolitik of the situation comes into it. What can you realistically achieve? Mm-hmm. And sometimes better the devil you know is the best you can do. Don't let the better become the enemy of the meh.
You know, if you know who you're dealing with and what the situation is, that's at least stable.
Yeah.
You know, like in North Korea, if the North Korean government fell and then there was chaos in North Korea, who knows what the fuck would come out of that, you know? So this is actually worse because of all the different factions and the different sects, religious sects of various intensities of fundamentalisms, you know, going on. So.
Yeah. So again, it's so weird to me to see America and Britain, who, like I say, have both, you know, obviously got Al Qaeda on their naughty list. Mm-hmm. They won't be getting a Christmas card this year, 25th year in a row. Basically welcoming a kind of Al Qaeda faction into power here.
Yeah, I did see some.
How did that work when you did that literally 30 years ago in Afghanistan, you dopey bastards?
Could you just imagine, like, for a little while, some stability? Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, they had some of that before they decided to, you know, go and fuck Iraq, basically. It was, by comparison, a lot more stable. Thank you for doing the Assad's dad's head as a light bulb. You see the point I was making. It is... He looks like fucking Megamind.
Yeah, he does look like a bulb. But yeah, I saw that some Syrians in the area were starting to return once they heard that Bashar had fled. Mm. So there's, I think, some hopefulness, at least with Syrian people, that, you know, like things will get better. And of course, that is the euphoria that usually comes with change, and then it all goes to shit. As if you're a student of history, you know well. But I mean, you gotta start off with hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, yeah. We can at least look on the bright side of saying, well, at least something positive might come out of this.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then, like always, it's the hope that kills you.
Yeah. Basically, like, if you could stop killing each other and not destroy religious minorities for, like...
True, but again, I know you don't mean it in that way, but you're doing the very American, actually not American, the Western thing of saying like, if they could do X, Y, and Z. If white-eyed dickheads could like leave them the fuck alone. If Russia and America and Britain and France and fucking everyone else could just stop being wankers and like leave these people alone to their own shit, that would probably help. I wasn't attacking you there, by the way.
Oh, I feel attacked.
Oh, sorry. No. No. That's why I said I specifically prefaced it by saying I know you don't mean this. I'm just putting that out there on top of it.
Like just minimal, just like basic human rights.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool.
You can like even like not allow political dissent, but like just on a basic level of we're not going to slaughter the Christians, we're not going to get into sectarian violence, we're not going to do that. Like are there any like benevolent dictatorships out there? Like I can't really think of any, if I'm honest. They're all dickheads.
Well, how I run this show is a benevolent.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, fact. Which is why people should give me money.
Because you're the ruler of this place.
I am. Yes.
Problems. Many of Syria's rebel groups, like the HTS, are way too radical for its liking and might become a problem for the future, especially in regards to its ally Israel. For Israel, the situation is somewhat awkward.
Alright, I forgot to mention Iran. Yeah, Iran shouldn't interfere either. Leave me the fuck alone.
Oh, yeah, and Turkey.
There are far too many interfering wankers for me to name them all. I apologise.
Well, it's like the whole Palestinian issue. Like, a lot of people have opinions, and a lot of people do stuff, but nobody actually helps the Palestinians.
I do.
Nobody's like sending them shit tons of money to buy property, or to, like protect. They're like, oh, it's terrible what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, but then also, fuck them. Like, what?
Okay.
It has long been keen on seeing Assad gone, as he is a close ally of Iran, but at the same time it is not really interested in seeing Syria being led by Islamist jihadist movements, under which Syria could again represent a big threat to it. One point of contention will likely be the Golan Heights, which are internationally recognized as Syrian territory but have been occupied by Israel since 1967, and Israel is already preparing.
Someone should really do something about that.
For potential confrontation. It has recently taken over the UN buffer zone surrounding the Golan Heights and conducted air raids in southern Syria and Damascus that are supposed to destroy government equipment before it falls into the hands of rebel factions. The pro-Assad powers, meanwhile, find themselves in an incredibly bad spot. For Russia, Syria has represented the main gateway for Moscow's influence in the Middle East and also harbors two extremely important Russian military facilities that are vital for the country's Mediterranean presence. According to some reports, the Russian military has already begun to evacuate these bases. Whether the Russian presence in Syria will soon be gone for good or perhaps somehow continue through an agreement with the leading factions is very unclear. For Iran,
I'd be very, very surprised if Russia gave up that military base, the naval base.
Oh, well, yeah, no, they must use that with their stuff with Ukraine.
Like they've got, it's their only warm water port that has access to the wider world.
Yeah.
They do have one, I believe, on the Black Sea coast, but they need to go through Turkish waters, through the Dardanelles, to get out to the sea, which, as a NATO country, is not going to happen.
Yeah.
The situation may even be worse. Syria was an important link to its ally Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is now likely cut off. Now Iran has entered into a diplomatic dialogue with Syrian factions, including the HTS, in order to trade the security of Shiite minorities and the many Shiite holy sites in Syria for an Iranian acceptance.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. When he says internationally recognized the Golan Heights as Syrian, the Trump, obviously, being such a peaceful chap, literally officially signed off the United States recognition of Golan Heights as part of Israel in 2019.
Oh yeah, and when he moved the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem as well.
Yes, yeah, no, he's a prick.
He's prick. Selling out to the Christian who are trying to bring about the end of the world.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Of the new Syrian government. Whether this will work will be shown within the next weeks and months. But what about Syria itself? What will a post-Assad Syria look like? Well, it's difficult to say. At the moment this video was released, many Syrians and outside observers were hopeful. The brutal rule of the Assad family is finally over, and surprisingly with very little bloodshed as well. If things go well, there will be a transitional government.
Okay, time out, Holmes Lies. I don't think you can divorce this situation from the last 13 years of civil war. You can't say he fell with very little bloodshed. I know the ultimate fall was relatively peaceful, but like, getting rid of him meant the breaking down of Syria over the course of more than a decade of slaughter.
Yeah, it wasn't. It all happened very quickly.
I know
last month, but it was building to.
Yeah, I know what he means again, and I don't want to seem nitpicky, but I think it's worth just bearing that in mind.
Council formed in which all factions within Syria will ideally negotiate a peaceful political solution for the entire country. Part of this may be the granting of some degree of autonomy to the country's minorities, including the Kurds, Alawites and Druze. But at the same time, the cause which had now unified many factions...
Whenever they say Druze, I think of the Droogs from Clockwork Orange.
I think of the Druids.
We're very different people, you and I. I actually grew up on an estate called Druids Heath as well. You would think it would be natural for my mind to go to that place too, but I don't. I go to violent lunatics from a mad film.
To topple Assad is now gone, and the various factions left in Syria have different backers, goals and ideas for how Syria
The big question from Lesbian Hot Sauce: what porn do you think was on Assad's hard drive?
Foot fetish stuff?
He was definitely into cock stuff, wasn't he? I mean, look at him, the chinless prick. Definitely. Is what I'm saying.
Alright, that's what you're going with?
Yeah. It was definitely like the... I would not be surprised if there wasn't a Ayatollah fucking his wife film somewhere in there. Just saying.
Should be governed. If the negotiations between them stall in the coming weeks, what will stop them from fighting against each other? In such a scenario, we could see Syria devolve into another civil war. And let's not forget that the situation along the Turkish border could soon escalate too. There is already fighting going on between the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army and the Kurdish-led SDF on the west bank of the Euphrates River. With Assad gone, the Turkish government may see this as an opportunity to conduct a large-scale intervention in order to push Kurdish forces further south, although much will depend on how the US will react, which is currently supporting the SDF. Whatever happens now, let's hope that the people of Syria, which for years have endured incredible violence and destruction, will finally get the chance for peace. I hope you found this video helpful. Here's another video you might find interesting.
I did find that helpful. Thank you, Paint with Politics. Or Politics with Paint, yeah.
It was ridiculously complicated, but I mean, it is ridiculously
That's about as simplistically as you could put it, though. Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah. Incredible work. So, yeah, that's fucked.
Yep, that situation is totally fucked. Yes.
Yeah. Also, there's only one true president of Syria.
Who's that?
Juan Guaido! Let's fucking go! I'm bringing him back! Fuck yes! Old memes. Anyway, yes, so, I was going to talk a little bit about the NYC shooter guy. Mm-hmm. Otherwise known as the most devious bastard in New York City. Because that's the thing I like to say.
Yes.
Anyway, it turns out he might have been arrested, but I still am not entirely sure he's been arrested.
Someone was arrested.
Someone was arrested. Yes. And they're describing them as someone of significant interest, which means I don't think that it's him.
Maybe like people, who knows? Yeah,
it could be a patsy situation, because there's no way they allow this to go, like, unpunished. So if they have to get someone in and fake it, they will.
Did you see? I mean, I sent you that thing. You didn't put it on the as your meme for the show, but Elon Musk being like, actually, it's not cool to kill a CEO.
Well, literally, it's surprising, isn't it, that a man that didn't spend Thanksgiving with his kids is estranged from several of his children, considers one of them to be dead because they're trans. the day after a CEO gets murdered, all of a sudden his tiny little human shield comes with him to the Capitol building.
Just like always carrying his kid with him everywhere. Don't shoot me, I have a kid.
I mean, honest to God, what
a
a
piece of
nakedly disgusting piece of fucking trash he is.
He is.
God almighty. Anyway, yes. So that's basically happened. Did we want to take a look at the video I suggested, the Dark Matter one?
Yeah, that's what I thought we were actually doing at the top of the show.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I wanted to. You said you wanted to take a look at Syria.
Okay, well, I mean, I thought it was. I have to say, I don't know that I feel that I understand it, but I understand it a little bit now, or at least I know how complicated it is. Maybe that's all I can aspire to with the issues in the Middle East, since it's not a specialty of mine. I can't keep up with all these different factions and different groups that are going on. So, yeah, that's the best I can do, really.
Fair enough. So,
have you watched this yet? Do we actually know what we're getting into here?
I watched the first couple of minutes and it seems pretty dope.
He's not being ironic.
No.
Okay.
So,
I'm going in cold. I have not seen this.
Dark Matter 2525 is a name that will be familiar to some of you. Mm-hmm. He was. If you're old, and we're into like
we're in the atheist
/ humanist, secularist sphere a long time ago. And as I've pointed out, whenever we've had either Steve Shives on or someone like that, most of those people turned into raging wankfests.
Yep.
Steve Shives being the delightful exception. Everyone should go and follow him. Or
expose themselves as being.
Well, indeed, perhaps they always were. Yes.
Yeah.
Most of them gobshites. And Dark Matter went down that path. Like, I'd stopped watching their shit years ago. They turned into a wanker. Mm-hmm. Turns out, perhaps they're on a bit of a redemption arc.
Matured a bit. Realized the world's not so is more complicated than they thought.
Maybe, perhaps just a smidge.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Is being woke good or bad? Well, it depends greatly on what you mean by woke. Now, I've scoured the internet for a consistent definition of woke, and what
there isn't one. They use it to basically mean whatever they want.
Well, I mean, first let's acknowledge that it was stolen from African, like Black people's culture in America. It's about being aware of the systemic discrimination and racism that exists, seeing it for what it is, and understanding it precisely. And that just made a lot of, and then white people took it over and completely changed the meaning, because that idea is dangerous to them.
You say that, Christy, but the word woke already existed, and it came from the Angloids, so it's actually white. Because, as we know from Benjamin Franklin, those are the only people who are white.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a joke, by the way, for anyone watching.
Yeah, you have to.
What I found was that perception of what
he speaks quite slowly. I'm going 1.25.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
The term stands for is very clearly demarcated along political affiliation. Left-leaning people tend toward an approximation of the first definition in Webster's dictionary, which is, quote, aware of and actively attentive to important societal facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice, unquote. While right-leaning people tend toward the second definition, quote, politically liberal or progressive, as in matters of racial and social justice, especially in a way that is considered unreasonable or extreme, unquote. Now, it originally meant the first definition, but throughout recent political discourse, the term was co-opted and turned into the second definition in order to disparage. Throughout most of my search, I found that people using it to disparage varied greatly in how they tried to define it. They weren't very consistent. Some had difficulty defining it at all.
Would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So, I mean, woke is sort of the idea that
some defined it as assigning viewpoints to entire groups.
It's a basis for madness. When people say the gay community, who are you talking about? It's like, women think this. Oh, really? 50% of the species all agree on something. Blacks say this.
Okay, but when you talk about the Muslims, then are you suggesting all 1 point whatever billion agree? You fucking Nazi piece of filth.
Yep.
Really?
And some defined it as the perfect opposite, being restricted from assigning viewpoints to entire groups.
People always ask, what is the definition of woke? Well, the definition of woke, as I mentioned in the book, is the making sacred of historically marginalized race, gender, and sexual identity groups. That's it.
Now, that last clip is very interesting to me because he admits something I don't think he intended to admit. And the word sacred is what led him into his own trap.
That's Eric Kaufman.
He talks
I used
about
to be at
historically
Birkbeck with him.
marginalized.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Old friends.
No, I mean, he went to faculty meetings together because he was permanent staff and I was a postdoc, on my fellowship there. But I just didn't realize what a dickhead he was at the time.
Fair play.
Groups such as gender, race, and sexual orientation as being sacred. In other words, unassailable, unable to blaspheme against. But here's my question. What legitimate criticism or negative statement can be levied at an entire race or an entire gender or an entire sexual orientation? Now, if someone said, quote, the problem with black people is ABC, or the problem with women is XYZ, wouldn't we immediately recognize that as racist or sexist because you're shoehorning everyone of those groups into a box of problems based on their immutable characteristics? How do you correct?
The problem with women is they don't get paid equivalent to what their male counterparts do because of things like sexism or disadvantage by the time they take to be mothers. You can say that, and it's perfectly legitimate.
Have they chosen not to show a bit of cleavage? Because that can help.
So.
If you want to raise, show a bit of tit.
Kevin Part the Push 2024.
Oh, they love a bit of tit on Twitch. What are you talking about?
Immutable characteristics, genocide, eugenics, what? So, yes, we have decided as a society to not discriminate based on certain demographics like race, gender, and sexual orientation. Isn't that a good thing? Calling that sacred does not excuse bigotry, does it? And calling that woke doesn't make woke a bad thing, does it? Years ago, people would have described me as anti-woke because I openly expressed dislike of what some people would associate with wokeness today. But my dislike was rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding. It took me too long to realize this, but my dislike was not for a specific group of people, which is the same mistake that right-leaning people are making now. My dislike was for a specific set of traits that anybody of any group could possess. It's just that sometimes people are willing to overlook these traits if they're held by people of their own group. Typical tribalism. These are the traits: obsessive, easily offended, hypocritical, and lacking self-awareness. Now, these are often a package deal. I associated those traits with certain groups, rather than the more accurate approach of attributing them to the individuals who exhibited those traits. The truth is that someone who is woke might not have any of those traits, while someone who is intensely anti-woke could have every single one of them. But the right-wing media sphere is a juggernaut that searches for outright events or focuses upon the most extreme, legit or not, and then elevates that, puts a spotlight on it as the norm. So people end up with a lopsided view of reality. And if you don't agree...
Who the fuck is Luigi Mangione? What?
Is that from Mario?
Okay, suspect in the healthcare shooting taken into custody after being recognised at McDonald's. Luigi Mangione has been named as the suspect. Recognised in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Well, someone's gonna get in trouble with the internet. They took out their favorite boy.
True. reviewed the... Oh my god, on what appears to be Mangione's Goodreads account, the 26-year-old reviewed the Unabomber's book, giving it 4 stars out of 5. He was eating a McDonald's when an employee recognised him.
That's a little, yeah, like, Unabomber rating, not good, would you say?
Suspect had ghost gun that can be made on 3D printer, capable of firing 9mm rounds. Okay. Born and raised in Maryland.
Oh, there's a trouble symbol problem.
Yeah, exactly. Police recovered mask and clothes consistent with those worn by the gunman. Oh, okay. He's a 26-year-old from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Oh, from Maryland. What am I talking about? Close enough, you know. Anyway, so yeah, that's Luigi Mangione. McSnitch.
Nice.
True. Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, more updates as that comes in. The trial of the Chad of the century. Let's go.
Agree with them, then you are called a cuck, a simp, a beta, soy boy, and any one of a million other emasculating terms that works very well on insecure young men. They are experts at controlling the narrative. Now, when I was a kid, about once a month or so, I'd visit a relative of mine who was a pretty staunch feminist. And I remember one time when my brother and I were driving in the car with her, and somebody driving in front of us made her very frustrated. And eventually they turned without using a turn signal, and I never forgot what she said in response to that. She said, quote, "Men don't know how to use turn signals." That was very peculiar to me, even as a child. I remember that you couldn't even see the car's driver, couldn't even tell if they were a man or a woman. She just assumed. And she was making a disparaging statement about something I was going to become one day, a man. And that fact did not escape my young mind. She frequently made disparaging statements about men in...
Holy shit, like, try growing up a girl. When boys are insulted and they're called girls. I mean, I think the one thing that I appreciate everything he's saying, but one of the things that he does not do is kind of like express any awareness of how his position in society influences his perception of what is going on, you know? And so this, like, someone saying something negative about men, holy shit, like, try being a girl. You know, and maybe he'll get there, but the point is, yeah, like, I hope he gets there. I hope he realizes that it's not just about, like, his one aunt who is who, you know, said the thing is, like, women drivers is like a butt of a joke forever and ever and ever, right? Yeah. Also, Asian drivers, entire groups are always assumed to be bad drivers. And for him, it's like, oh, I remembered it because I was a member of the group that you're disparaging. Like, hello, lie down moment. Yeah. A lot of us have experienced that.
Sure. Yeah, the trial of Mangione is definitely going to be televised, and I will be taking that live.
All right.
Because that's going to be amazing. There's going to be too many memes. He's going to be asked questions about Monopoly money.
Yeah, although if he's pro Unabomber, you gotta like.
He could have just liked the linguistic style. The Unabomber, look, people, you say what you like about the Unabomber. He had an interesting prose.
I never read his work.
I have read some of it, and he was a mental case.
Yeah.
You know, he was a very, very messed up individual. Actually, incredibly intelligent, though, to be fair. He was advanced
MIT grad or something. Like
he was like one of the best mathematicians in the country.
Yeah, he should have just stuck to, I don't know, done string theory or something.
Or just go and fuck off and live in a cabin. If you don't like modern society, cool. Go and live in your cabin and fucking shop. You don't have to say. You could go and live in a cabin and not send bombs to people. That's also an option.
In general, it made me wonder if one day she was going to hate me too. I wondered if it was only my existence as a child that made me acceptable to her.
Also, hate is a bit much. Mm-hmm. She said men don't know how to use indicators in a moment of anger. So, like, just letting off some steam whilst driving. And now all of a sudden she hates men?
Yeah.
What?
Getting a little heavy.
Yeah, it's a little bit victim complex, eh?
No. And what rubbed me the wrong way, which I could not quite express back then, was that she had those traits I disliked. She was obsessive, easily offended, hypocritical, and lacked self-awareness. Now, as a result, she did things that she did not like when men did them. Misogynistic men made assumptions about her because she was a woman, and so she did the same back to them. She became what she hated, and something I've constantly warned you against throughout the life of my channel. Hate nobody, or those you hate will shape you into what you will be. It made me feel toward her the same way I already felt toward religious people at an early age. Religious people aggravated me because they made assumptions about me based on the simple fact that I did not believe what they believed. They ascribed to me all sorts of ulterior motives, things that never even entered my thought process. Like I just wanted to sin, or that I hated God, or that I was rebelling, or that I just wanted to live by my own rules. And
to be fair, I do just want to sin.
Well, sometimes it's fun. Like all of the sexual, like all of the, messing around outside of marriage. That's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
With consenting adults, obviously.
Yeah, like basically all of the fun things are sins.
Yeah, eating too much, drinking too much.
Yeah, true. Is it fashioning craven idols or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. Craven images. Apologies.
Graven ones too. Not just craven, but graven ones.
Gravy ones, yes.
Oh, I love some graven.
Or that I hated them, etc. And the list was endless, but none of that was true. And they were so easily offended. My mere existence as a non-believer offended them. How dare I disbelieve what they believed? I was 8 years old the first time I told someone that I did not believe God existed. And this was before I even knew the word atheist. And the reason I remember it so well is because of the reaction I received. It was a classmate. We were both in the second grade at the time. His name was David, and I even remember his last name too, but I won't say it. It begins with a V. So David V mentioned something about God, and I told him that God is just another fairy tale, just like all the other fairy tales that the adults tell us. That's truly how I saw it at the time. And he told me that I'm going to burn in hell. And what struck me was that he looked happy about it. He was grinning when he said it. And I think that helped instill in me the idea that not everything that is...
But these are kids. We took great... Oh, God. We took amusement as older than 8. We were at high school at this point, in calling a guy whose name wasn't Billy, Billy. Because once, in the first year, someone described... Billy Connolly had done this thing for charity where he ran about in London naked. And so someone jokingly referred to him, he said, "You look like Billy Connolly's cock," right? To him once, and we laughed so hard we called him Billy for 5 fucking years. If I saw him today, I'd still call him Billy, even though I know his name.
But I think if you look at who his role models are, his religious leaders also kind of take a glee in the idea that people who are not doing what God wants them to do are going to burn in hell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kids are just dumb cunts.
But their pastors are dumb cunts too.
Well, no, that's the thing. I would contend, no, that isn't the case. Once you become an adult, I think you can be judged very differently. Even if you've been indoctrinated.
Right, but what do adults model? What do they see their preachers modeling? Behind the pulpit, like, oh, he's gonna burn in hell, these sinners are gonna get their just deserts, God's gonna come down and his wrath will be righteous, and he will take these sinners out, right?
For dinner.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be nice.
Is claimed to be good, really truthfully is good. That was one of the lessons that taught me about the inconsistencies of life. Here we had someone who was a Christian, who we were supposed to think of as good people, yet he was reveling in the idea of someone else's pain and suffering, my pain and suffering. And it wasn't like I was ever mean to him. He had no reason to hate me, yet he still seemed to like the idea of my torture. And that stuck with me. After that, it aggravated me when people used religion as a shortcut to tell if someone was a good person, or that their lack of religion was a way to tell that they're a bad person. I remember someone telling me that they knew my brother was a good person because they saw the Christian bumper sticker on his car. I couldn't put my finger on it yet, but there was a certain commonality among the people that aggravated me. I did not yet know that this type of person was not limited to any one ideology. They could really be anybody. It wasn't a trait inherent to feminism or religion, and I didn't really truly figure it out until around 2016, much later in life. That was when I started to truly understand that it was these...
Sorry, I'm very amused by some of the stories in chat of what you called schoolmates. Probably my favourite there, we called a guy Moses because he once wore sandals to school when he was 9. Fucking Moses. Sorry.
Traits that I disliked. Obsessive, easily offended, hypocritical, and lacking self-awareness. And that was the real problem I had with my feminist relative. And
255 asks a very pertinent question back on point. Were you ever a particularly devout Catholic, Kevin? Yes, I was. As a kid, you couldn't have convinced me otherwise. I was a very devout Catholic. I was actually an altar server at my local Catholic church. Thankfully, I wasn't abused by the priest. Not a universal experience for altar boys, unfortunately, but there we go. Yes, so I absolutely was. I briefly considered becoming a priest.
Yeah, I had a
like
phase of thinking about being a
9
nun
or 10 or something, so like, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Sunday school, when you're like before you reach double digits, you're like, oh.
What's an altar server? They're the young,
altar
usually boys that like do the, like when the priest is about to give out the bread that they pretend is the body of Jesus. They like bring the chalice, as it's referred to, the big golden cup where they put the bread in, and you bring that to him, and like you take it away when it's done, and you basically do the menial tasks of the mass, putting out the candles afterwards with one of those big long things on a stick, and you put it down and it chokes it of oxygen, and then the candle's out, even though it's 20 feet in the air.
Snuff?
Something like that. I don't know. I can't remember, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, so we did that. I took it all very seriously. Like, Jesus was my best friend. That's the way I looked at it. It was fucking amazing. He's looking out for me all the time. That's fucking dope.
A candle snuffer.
Yeah.
I looked it up online.
And then I read the Bible, and I was like, whoa. What's this about it's alright to have slaves and that? What's that about? What's this? Why is he calling non-Jewish people fucking dogs? What's this? That's not nice. What's this about?
Yeah.
What's this stuff about the fucking rape? What's all the fucking rape about? You know.
Yeah, why did he curse a fig tree? Actually, now I know why he cursed the fig tree. But
to be fair,
you're like, what the fuck? The fig tree wasn't even in season. He's getting mad at it. But of course, what you don't realize when you're that age, and because a lot of Judaism has been stripped from Christianity, is that the fig tree in other parts of the Bible has stood for like the leadership of Israel. So it's a metaphor. It didn't actually happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't give two fucks about the fig tree. It never entered my mind. All of the weird shit figs? Like, hey, I like what you've done there. Or if you wave a stripy stick at a calf, it'll give you stripy kids, or a bat is a bird. There's loads of wank in there. But I was mainly like, why? Like, I was always told Jesus was fucking awesome and good, and that God was completely good. Sounds awesome, right? And then you read into it and you're like, why is he okay with all the evil shit happening to people?
Yep.
What's that about? You only told me the nice bits, you pricks. Anyway. And the thing is, unlike previous generations, where in Catholic school, if you ask questions, they beat you with fucking sticks and drive it into you. Thankfully, I was part of a generation, probably the first generation, I would imagine.
It didn't get beaten.
That they couldn't physically assault in order to stop asking questions. Anyway.
Religious people I argued with over the years, it wasn't their feminism and it wasn't their religion. It was their specific behavior for which they alone are responsible. In order to learn that lesson, I had to witness a remarkable shift in the zeitgeist, and that happened in the mid-2010s. Now, at first, I was making the exact same mistake of attributing those characteristics to a specific group of people. What taught me the lesson was the reaction to them. During the years around 2014, we had a term for those people, which we called SJW, which stood for Social Justice Warrior. People don't usually use that term anymore because it has been fundamentally subsumed by the term woke.
Which is just the new phrase. It's the same as cuck or soy boy or whatever. You know, they come up with a new one every so often.
Yeah, it was, feminist, then it was the SJWs, and now it's, being woke. And yeah, it's just they just try to beat up on the same groups, but with new terms.
Yeah. And as you pointed out before, people to the right of you will call you a cuck, soy boy, SJW, woke.
Yeah.
Regardless of how, it's because it's constantly, regressing to extremism.
And notice how it's all about controlling men. All of the language is about shaming men.
Well, shaming men, but largely about them controlling men to control women.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Because that's the hierarchy, you understand.
Yep.
Essentially synonymous now, though their etymology is a bit different. Back then, around a decade or so before this recording, it was popular to make fun of SJWs. I was essentially on the vanguard against wokeism back then. Now, a lot of people developed entire careers out of doing that. Nobody took it terribly seriously beyond comedic purposes, though. The comedy was very easy.
What about the people that it impacted? What about the people who were harassed because of it? Yeah, in your little, white male privilege golden kingdom, it was just entertainment. But it was leading to, a seriously hostile online environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of good content creators who came and went because of that, yeah.
Yeah, driven off because of the constant, haranguing and berating, yeah.
Yeah, regressive leftist was another one for a little brief period. Never quite took on, but yeah, it was definitely around.
They tried.
Yeah. Exactly, they throw a lot of it at the wall and see what sticks.
And in demand, so naturally it flourished. I made a cartoon that was doing great numbers and going viral. It was called If God Became an SJW. Now, when I realized the truth of what was really going on, I put that video on private so that it would not be seen anymore. I made a mistake by making that cartoon, and correcting that mistake was not pain-free, as that video was pretty lucrative. But I can't stand by something that I don't believe in just for the money. As a lot of you who are familiar with my work know,
I can go to Raytheon.com/KevKev and use the code KevKev's Massive Sweaty Balls for 10% off on your drone strikes. Or just give me money in the normal way.
Yeah,
that's also
easier
available.
than the affiliate link. Yeah, more reliable.
It is. But what I don't give you is a drone strike. So specifically, if you want the drone strike.
Yeah, then you have to use the discount code.
Yeah, true.
I no longer make videos like that, and I have not done it for a long time now. I've even been accused of being woke now, which is very funny to me. So what changed? See, a lot of people disliked SJWs for the same reason that I disliked religion, because we generalized the people in those groups based on the more extreme ones who seemed very obsessive, very hypocritical, lacked self-awareness, and were easily offended.
Can I just put it? So basically, you bought the bullshit of the right wing uncritically and just accepted that narrative of stereotyping entire groups rather than actually listening to what people said?
Yes.
That's what he's admitting here? Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Walking on eggshells. Nobody liked their language being policed, like blasphemy, or to be lectured, like sermons, or to be accused of certain things just on the basis of immutable characteristics born into sin, like being a man, or being white, or straight, etc., to
Yawn.
Yeah, you're
SJWs, that seems...
It is. When will the boot of big SJW get off the white man's neck?
To be ironically racist and sexist. That fed into my belief that they were hypocritical and lacked self-awareness, the things that I disliked so much. So I was motivated to mock them. In hindsight, I know that many of them had valid concerns, but were perhaps expressed in ways that weren't very diplomatic and much more accusatory. To make sense of why I did not stay the course in an anti-woke direction, it would help to understand a little bit of the history involved. Much of the movement against the SJWs, and eventually the woke, as they're called now, can be exemplified in the massive pop culture backlash against a woman named Anita Sarkeesian and what she represents.
We're really going back in time now.
We are ancient history now. Let's go.
Yeah, a woman on the internet had an opinion about gaming, and fragile men freaked the fuck out. That's a story you need to know.
We're
about
going back to OG
Lord
days.
donated $5. And if normal ways of contribution do not suit you, you can also be an agent of mayhem and sing the glory of the Pendlin Pay Pigs, oink oink, despunkify.
Don't know what the fuck that meant. Lord Frietus, you're getting more and more abstract and weird with it, but you always end with despunkify, so I'll let you off. And thank you for financial assistance.
Started a nonprofit organization called Feminist Frequency. She was a critic of modern media, like movies and video games. But rather than examining them from the...
Also, by the way, this you can tell a person that's too online if this is their go-to, like, this is where it all started. No, it fucking didn't. They were doing this fucking shit with political correctness gone mad back in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is not... This was just the internet, like, birthing of that process or whatever. Look, it's not this is not the start of anything. This was just
the oppressor class tries to manage culture and lots of things, and in every generation going all the way back. There were anti-feminists way back in the day because they didn't want women to vote and didn't want women to have power. Like, this is just shut up, woman kind of situation.
True, but look, all I'll say is, has the situation got better or worse since women were allowed to vote?
It's better that women vote.
That's not the question I asked, Krista. Oh, for God's sake. Just because his name's Luigi. This is Fredophobia, which, by the way, is the actual term for anti-Italian bigotry. Yeah, this is Fredophobia right here. You just got Luigi, the character, where they got like...
Yes, with I get it. He's taking out the CEO.
Because his name's Luigi.
Has there ever been anyone in America people have given less of a shit about when he got shot? I don't think so.
No, literally. And it's been wonderful watching the press be like, why are people reacting? Yeah, why are people reacting this way? Like, and they did genuinely. They brought the nonsense of like, oh, the reason that all these young people are anti-capitalist or anti-this or anti-that is because of the schools and the universities. No, it's because you've created a financial situation where they can't even afford to fucking rent a house, let alone buy one.
Well, it's more that their processing claims have been denied, or their family members' claims have been denied, or they've not been able to go, like they're going bankrupt because they end up having to pay out of pocket, even though they've been paying for insurance their whole lives.
Well, that was specifically with the healthcare industry. But I was making a broader point about all of the economy is set up that rich people stay rich, whether it's insurance or housing or employment or anything. They're literally, unless you've got money to start with, you're not going to be rich now. Social mobility doesn't really exist anymore. Which is why people don't have a vested interest in keeping the situation as it is. So when a rich prick who is literally, he's basically a fucking gangster, right? Let's not pretend otherwise. He was just a gangster and he got whacked, which is what gangsters happen. It's a fucking occupational hazard. No one's that upset about it. When a mafia kingpin who killed loads of people gets fucking whacked, no one cares.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So how is this guy any different?
Well, Elon Musk says it's not cool to kill a CEO, so...
But he thinks it's cool to, like, I don't know, do star jumps behind Trump. Like, I don't give a fuck what this prick thinks. He thinks the fucking, the what's it called? The Cybertruck is cool. And it's a grey box of cutting fingers off and exploding and killing everyone. Fucking
it does
idiots.
do that a lot.
What was the thing you sent me about the Cybertruck? It was on the
Discord. Someone was driving down the road in winter and they ended up the heating broke and they had to be in their Cybertruck with the jacket on.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, here we go. Cybertruck AC. Hang on. You've already seen it, so I won't bother sharing.
Yeah.
Cybertruck AC stops working in the middle of the Canadian cold. Now, is it quite cold in winter in Canada? I don't know. It's a bit nippy, yeah.
It can get nippy, yeah.
Yeah. To stop himself from freezing, the Cybertruck owner had to drive on the highway with an insulated coat on inside.
Yeah, that's how well designed it is.
Brilliant. That's excellent work. And of course, because the lights are on that little shelf, it means that the front lights don't really work in winter in places where it snows, like all of Canada. So, literally useless. A useless, dangerous hunk of shit.
Yep.
The return of
Brilliant.
Absolutely. All right, so back to Feminist Frequency when he became aware
and you
of
lose visibility
politics.
as well.
I was literally just saying that, Magical. Thank you for bitty bits.
Perspective of technical competence or artistic value, like most critics. She evaluated them from...
Actually, no. Whoa. She did do that as well.
Yeah.
Like she also said, they're focusing on the ass and the tits. Like, that's a thing she did. Cool. But she also... Yeah, because they do. But she was also like, and the gameplay is a bit like this, and the lighting and the storyline, and not lighting, it's not a film, but you know what I mean, like it's,
Yeah.
She went through the whole gambit.
Perspective of positive or negative cultural impact, usually in terms of whether or not the movie or video game was problematic in how it portrayed women or various minority groups, or even that they weren't portrayed at all, that they didn't have enough representation. And I think that she felt we as a society had become too accustomed and accepting of how these various demographics are treated in our media or left out altogether, which has an effect on our perceptions. And some of the things she criticized were pieces of media that we loved. And I think a lot of people felt,
oh no, the games that I liked, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, like, who cares if someone doesn't like your game?
Yeah.
Get over it.
Like, there are... Yeah, whatever media you like, someone else is going to not like. How does that affect your liking of it? Why would a story with... From my experience of Calgary, Alberta, there were days when it was too cold to snow. Like, fuck that. Move south. It's too cold where you are. I know you've moved since then, but that's not the point I'm making. In general, if it's that cold, you need to move somewhere else. I hear that your neighbours to the south are very welcoming of foreigners. Canada. So they're not building a wall on that fucking border. For now.
Yeah. Just
felt personally attacked.
What, sorry?
Just putting up tariffs.
True. Building walls of money.
By that. We were being called guilty for liking things that she considered problematic. For example... What? She would criticize things like impractical armor for women.
What's the guilty? What are you talking about the guilty?
She's making an observation. If you feel guilty because of it, it just shows you that you realize there's a problem with it.
Like, literally, was my whole point at the time. Even if she's completely wrong, let's say everything she says is wrong and it's all bullshit. So what? What difference does that make to you? You can still enjoy your fucking game. It literally doesn't change it at all.
A woman on the internet having an opinion does not change your game.
Yeah.
It might have designers think about how they objectify women and the fact that how that might impact women who are playing.
Yeah.
Or girls who are playing as they grow up and how they see themselves and then how they think they have to act in order to get male attention.
True.
You're feeding into that problem and then criticizing them for being over-sexualized. Well, where did they learn that from? Your culture.
Sure.
And in video games that was too skimpy, or the women were too sexualized, or the camera focused a bit too much on a woman's sexual characteristics, which was called the male gaze. And these were things that most...
Like, the male gaze is a general term, and you know why it exists? Because it's a thing. It's an absolute thing. So I introduced a friend of mine to Burn Notice, which is a show I like a lot. But they have this tendency, like, in the cutscenes, like, between... They would just put up, like, women on the beach. But it's always women on the beach, and they're always in bikinis. Or, like butt shots as they get, and he's like, whoa, random tits on the screen. Like, I was just watching a show and now there are half naked women everywhere. And yeah, who is that designed for? It's not designed for straight women.
Well, it's not designed for the gays either.
Exactly. It's for the male.
The male gaze.
Male gaze.
I will do that joke every time this happens. Every time.
guys liked, including myself. So it seems like the industry catered to guys for the most part, and she argued that it should cater to everyone. She gained traction in mainstream media too, and it was even
exactly. Well, as lesbian hot sauce can attest, it's for the lady gays.
Yes, they're sort of incidental. They don't really go into designing games with like lesbians in mind. It's really more dick focused, but it's an ancillary knockoff, benefit in that way. But yeah.
Yes.
Reported that she started consulting in game development, and I think that scared a lot of people. But I think that she was welcomed as a consultant because naturally these companies wanted to broaden their audiences, which would make them more profitable.
Exactly.
And she found some success too, and a lot of people claimed that it was not organic success. She was receiving a lot of funding for her work, and some of her most ardent detractors would point out that her work did not reflect the amount of funding she was receiving. Basically, it was an accusation of grifting before that term was very common. But I don't think it's accurate to call her a grifter, because I think she was a true believer in her cause. Grifters, on the other hand, don't really care about the cause. The cause is just whatever is popular at the moment. Now, on a surface level, it doesn't really sound like there's anything wrong with any of that, right? But I was far from alone in thinking that something about the way it was executed seemed off. It rubbed me the wrong way, enough to the point where I also started criticizing SJWs. Now, at first, it was the obsessed...
Oh, you little prick. Magical. I'm going to have to tell Christy this now, and she will also lose. And
the game?
And he's so easy, and he's single-handedly responsible for all of us thinking about the game.
Nice.
Dickhead. You're a dickhead.
Nice. Love
you
it.
gave me bits, but you're still a dickhead. Dickhead.
Nature of it that bothered me. It's one of the main things that bothered me about religion, too. I saw it as getting...
Also, oh, God. This is such a bugbear of mine, especially because I'm anti... the obsessives about religion. Look, I'm an atheist myself, but like people who are obsessed with like hating on religion and stuff are fucking weird. Anyway, also I've just noticed deny, defend, depose, the official music video. I'm gonna have to check that out later. Okay. Anyway, it's in the sidebar. Never mind. You don't have to compare everything to religion. Can I just say to the anti-religion people out there, you don't have to compare every single fucking thing to, oh, this is like the religious. Sometimes it just isn't.
Yeah.
Like, I know you don't like religion. Cool. Good for you. Well done. You've worked out a thing that a lot of people do by the age of 12. Good. That doesn't give you some special insight into literally every situation.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the culture warrior people. I saw it this week with ironically with the defend, deny, depose, with our friend Luigi, as we now call him because that's his name. Anyway, Matt Walsh going on about the left are supporting the murder of an innocent man, blah, 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 just because he's a white man. No, what the fuck are you talking about? It's because he's a healthcare CEO who denied like cancer patients treatment, you prick. Like he literally helped people die in pain.
And it's not just the left, can I be saying? There's a lot of people who didn't like that. Like, you're just like, don't give a fuck.
Yeah, most Americans, even if you're relatively wealthy, have experienced the healthcare industry being shit. Like, it's only if you're so rich that you can like overcome all of the nonsense in the system. Or just pay for it out of pocket and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't actually affect you in any meaningful way.
Which is like a tiny, tiny percentage of it. And so everyone's like, yeah, I get it. Like, even if they're like, oh, you probably shouldn't have killed him, still like, I get the anger, yeah.
Like, look, I deal with, emotionally, I kind of reserve my my emotional energy for like school shootings, which are inevitably coming. One CEO doesn't register on my gun violence metric anymore because it's not big enough.
Yeah.
You compare that to El Paso, you compare that to the Texas shooting, you compare that to any school shooting.
Or just the number of people the police kill every fucking year.
Exactly. Right? He's just one guy. I don't mean, like I say, it's a tragedy, from like a statistically, like from his family point of view. But he's just a guy. He's only on the news because he's, rich and famous.
Exactly, yeah. They don't put this much effort into the other killings that happen in broad daylight, do they? It's almost like the police are there to protect capital and not the people.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Offended about every little thing, but not just merely getting offended about something you
pointed
happened
out,
to see or hear.
Pointing out that it's sexual doesn't necessarily mean she's like permanently offended. She's like, do you realize how you're sexualizing everything? Like, do you understand how everything is boobs and butts for you? And then guys feel bad about it because they're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a big horn dog, aren't I? And then suddenly they don't like feel good about their sexy digital characters that they're wanking over. They're like, oh, it's kind of pathetic that I really want to see boobs in my video games, isn't it? That's a you problem. That's not her problem.
True.
Here, it seemed like it was a movement that sought out offense to point at, like they actively desired to be offended. For instance, if I were to behave the same way in terms of religion, my channel would look very different than it does now. My channel is critical of organized religion, but for me, it would be like, instead of getting into religious doctrine itself, or instead of talking about the various ways religion is affecting our politics, it would be as if I watched movies and video games with an ear attentively waiting for someone to mention Christ, or to present themselves as a Christian, or to find someone in a movie wearing a cross, or praying, or anything like that, and then obsessively deconstructing it, how it's problematic, how there's no equal representation for atheists or other religions.
Can you pause it?
It would be as if...
That's like an actual valid, legitimate critique. Like, I know this guy probably hasn't done college courses in critical theory, but analyzing how, certain groups are presented as the norm. For instance, American is associated with white. It's associated not just with Christianity, but with Protestant Christianity. It's associated with like a traditional family. I don't want to say the wrong version of it, but a dad, a mom, and 2 kids. And so anything that is a single mom, a black family, a Muslim family, are considered aberrant relative to that, and they're seen as less American when it's not the case. So, like, looking for the lack of representation of atheists or at least non-Christians as normal, ordinary people who exist in America is actually a legitimate way of analyzing media.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. Like, there's nothing wrong. Like, you might find it annoying or whatever, but that doesn't take away that it's a legitimate thing to look at.
True.
I would not be able to enjoy media that has Christian elements, but that's just not the case for me. I don't mind Christian elements in
Can you just
movies
pause
and
it?
games.
Anita Sarkeesian actually said she liked games even if she didn't like parts of them. She didn't say she hated every game that she criticized, He's got there's a lot of bullshit. I mean, I know that he's trying to do good here, but there's a lot of bullshit that you have to weave through, and a lot of lack of like self-awareness too, as I pointed out.
True.
In my opinion.
True.
What if they portrayed atheists negatively or inaccurately? Maybe then I could empathize a little better with what Anita was doing, but I just didn't think of it that way. Regardless, shallow and seeking offense is how I perceived critical analysis by SJWs anyway. And I think other people perceived that as well.
Sorry.
So
the privileged white male thought that people who were pointing out their marginalized status in society were seeking offense. No, they're being oppressed and they're being marginalized and they're pointing it out. And you have your white fragility and your male fragility being challenged by saying this isn't the normal way of doing things and people have legitimate points. Sorry. I just, I'm kind of glad he's like being a bit more self-reflective, but there's still, like I said, there's a level of a lack of self-awareness of his own socio-political location, shall we say.
Yeah, literally at the start of every Tropes versus Women, she said it's okay to like games with this stuff in it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did he watch her stuff?
Well, most of the anti-SJWs didn't. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know about this guy specifically, but a lot of them didn't. They just took their opinions from other people.
Yeah, who also didn't watch it.
Yeah.
To be offensive to them, to get their attention and then laugh at them for it, to actively seek to trigger them, as it was called. So it was a bit of a symbiosis for a while. They sought to be offended while others sought to offend them. And back then, the term "you mad, brah" was popular. It was widely perceived that getting mad or getting offended meant that you lost the game, lost the debate.
Oh, fuck off.
So even if you weren't mad or offended, it was a common tactic to portray you as such, as a shortcut to winning.
Triggered!
I feel like when I say something, like on threads and someone go, oh, you're just an old woman, you would never, what do you know? I'm like, you mad, bruh? You're too emotional. Calm down, dear.
True. Bruh.
And because the SJWs were always complaining about racism and sexism, a lot of people realized that making racist and sexist jokes was a great way to trigger them. Unfortunately, I think that inadvertently created a more earnest pipeline of sorts. People constantly made fun of how weak and thin-skinned the SJWs were. Snowflakes, they were constantly called. It turned into a cottage industry. When Anita Sarkeesian uploaded a video, for example, it was like a gold rush. Anti-SJWs would download the video, tear it apart, make fun of it, criticize it, re-upload it, and collect the ad rev. It was almost like a race. And that process was repeated for all sorts of people deemed SJW. The people advocating for SJW causes were essentially funding their own opposition. The cameras turned to college campuses, where there were plenty of young people who were excited about fighting back against racism and sexism. And because they were young, maybe they weren't the best at expressing themselves, and maybe they did not realize that their own emotion and passion was the lifeblood of the comedic skits that would use them as punchlines.
And the misogynist.
I have no doubt.
He's really giving these assholes a pass.
True. Yeah, I'm waiting for him to make the turn.
Mm-hmm.
Interested to see if that happens at some point.
So much criticism of the left, but this complete lack of self-awareness about the sexism and the racism that was driving this, and the kind of hatred that he's basically like whitewashing here.
Yeah.
That entire mortgages have been paid off just from making fun of college kids. And so the anti-SJW movement grew into a juggernaut, starting out as just purely a comedic response, trolling and mocking, but then gradually morphed into something very serious and political, an actual movement. The unserious, racist, and sexist jokes morphed into sincerely held beliefs and political stances.
They were always racist. They were always sexist. They said they were being ironic, and they weren't.
To be fair, that's with the content creators. I think I will agree with him that I think that a lot of people that kind of follow us, the bottom feeders, if you will, of the groups, I think that is probably true. I think a lot of them were radicalized and suckered into a thing that they weren't previously a part of.
What? No, you get racist saying, oh, I'm being ironically racist, in order to make it acceptable for more people to be actually racist.
Yeah.
And then they're going, oh, no, I'm only being ironically racist, but the effect is racism.
Yes.
So this whole cover of, oh, they weren't really sexist, they weren't really racist. Yes, they were. Sargon was.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The
Armored Skeptic was. All these assholes were. Right?
Yeah, the main people were. Yes, but I'm saying like the followers, the viewers, the vast majority of these people, they didn't start off as like that extreme. They became more extreme.
Yes, and they didn't. There wasn't anyone in that group that was standing up because they were also busy, basically reinforcing.
Yeah.
This is how the whole kind of white supremacist bully culture works.
Yeah.
By appealing to this toxic masculinity about in-group, out-group, and we're going to make fun of the weaker people and the smaller people, and if you want to be like us, you will also make fun of them.
Yeah. And
this is how we maintain our power.
Yeah, 255. I think it's okay to critique this. I don't have a problem with it. If he's actually changed and isn't a thin-skinned reactionary that he claims to be, then how would us having relatively mild criticisms of him be particularly bad? Surely you just go, okay, fair enough, whatever.
Again, if it's not just a person on the internet with opinion.
Yeah.
And I noticed that those who spoke out against the obsessive were becoming quite obsessive themselves. You are what you hate. Donald Trump was very much a centerpiece of that backlash. He came up during a very unique moment of the political history of the United States. Conventional wisdom regarding political correctness went right out the window.
That's not unique.
No,
it
that's
was
just
the
American
fact that there was
history.
ever the fact that there was a first time where people felt that we were post-racial. It was always a joke, but the fact that that was the first time that anyone had ever even really fucking claimed it was the aberration. Was the abnormality. This wasn't unusual at all. This was just a return to normality for America.
Yeah, exactly. It's been the racist default, and we're trying to like occasionally break out of it through things like political correctness, which is don't use racial slurs, don't be sexist, don't use ableist, like just try to be nice to people, and then you get stomped down about, oh, you know, no, you're so fragile. Like, you're so fragile, you have to use racial slurs? Really? Is that so important to your character, who you are as a person? That's more important to you than like being decent to other people?
Yeah.
You know?
The stage at that time was set in such a way that a lot of people didn't care how offensive Trump was. They were tired of the offense takers and even wanted him to be as offensive as possible, just as a fuck you. Essentially, that is what became fashionable, be offensive. Of course, there were a lot of people who were still highly disturbed by Trump, but not enough to keep him from being elected. And that was a mandate against political correctness. It was pretty much explicit permission, and other politicians got the message loud and clear. That was the beginning of the turning point for me, though I never voted for Trump. In 2016, after he won, I was one of the people telling others to calm down, that it wasn't a big deal, don't overreact. I admit that I even did some partaking in making fun of people who were very upset about the Trump victory, and I am not proud of that. Afterward, everything kicked into high gear. The anti-SJW content went on steroids. Feminist-owned compilations became super popular, owning college kids. Every debate had to be about some SJW getting utterly destroyed, all caps. The internet was totally saturated with content mercilessly mocking anyone who even mentioned anything about racism or sexism. Anyone who would do such a thing was accused of virtue signaling and slapped with the SJW or woke label. The term woke was starting to get used more at this point. It was becoming mainstream. Even politicians and old ladies were using the word woke in their many complaints. And I started seeing some signs that disturbed me very much. Everything was being highly exaggerated, and the jokes and the comedy gradually shifted into the realm of anger and hatred. The anti-SJWs...
Oh yeah, before then it was all super chill.
It was just ironic. It was just ironic and fun. Oh, it's just a bit of fun. But now, suddenly, he's noticing, oh, there's an undercurrent of hate and destruction and dehumanization going on here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Took on the obsessive nature of the people they criticized and adopted it for themselves. Entirely unintentionally, I'm sure, because if they could actually see themselves objectively, I don't think they would like what they saw.
These
and that is, of course, a lack of
self-aware.
Yeah, the racists are well known for introspection.
Self-awareness. See, now it wasn't a movement about just merely getting offended about something they happened to see or hear. It was a movement that actively sought out offense to point at, like they actively desired to be offended.
Always did.
No longer was it a movement about laughing at anger, it was a movement about getting angry. Suddenly the rule that inspired "you mad, brah" no longer applied. The rules changed when the offense changed. Now the winner was whoever could get the most angry. But that was still a double standard. If the other side got angry, it was still funny and mocked. But if your side got angry, it was based and applauded. Consider this woman. You've all seen this image. This is the face of 1 billion thumbnails, still used on uploads and memes to this day. Have you ever seen the source material? It's quite short.
Exist. There's not rapists coming into just because they're refugees doesn't mean they're fucking rapists. And but they're raping people in Germany. You know, my parents are immigrants. My fucking parents are immigrants. No, not even a fucking big percentage. Tiny.
How many in the U.S.?
Get raped. Do you know how many?
1 in every 3
fuck ton. A fuck ton. That's a crisis. There's a rape crisis. Exactly.
But if a lot of the rapes that are being reported, that is not a fact.
I want you all. I love you all.
But the thing is, the right wing love rape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they would see that as a bad position to have.
This woman did not get triggered or belligerent or even a fraction as excited or angry as any one of us has ever been before. If you look at the comments section, you'll see that everyone openly realizes it and admits it and feels bad for how she was immortalized. She was the only one in the argument actually offering statistics rather than emotions. But there's one frame in which she made a funny face. Now, her entire existence is encapsulated by that. That's how absurd the anti-SJW movement became when they sought offense. Even a single frame was enough for them to latch onto, was enough for them to convict and condemn you. Suddenly, around them, you had to walk upon the thinnest of eggshells. What's especially funny about this meme is that the source material originally came from the Alex Jones channel, and we all know how calm and collected Alex Jones is. The anti-woke had become...
You're right.
Sorry, I need to see him slap himself again. We need
Right.
to see that again, because that was... Fuck, I've never seen that clip before. Does he hit himself in the face regularly? Is that a thing? I don't know.
I hope so.
Yeah.
The anti-woke.
I mean, it's like doing the thing that everyone else wishes they could, you know?
That's amazing. Oh. There's a gif. There's a gif right there, people.
Had become obsessive, hypocritical, lacked self-awareness, and incredibly easily offended. Today, the Anita Sarkeesian business model is extremely successful in the opposite direction. She became the model for the very people who hated her guts. Now we have reverse Sarkeesian media critics who consume movies and video games with the objective to actively seek out whatever in them can be construed as being woke. And they are legion. The critical drinker, nerdrotic, the quartering, heel versus babyface, etc., are all reverse Sarkeesians, but far more fanatical than she ever was. They can't simply enjoy a movie or video game for what it is. No, they have to actively examine it through an anti-woke magnifying glass to determine if someone is black.
There are so many films in the past that they would just describe as woke. Like, they claim to really love the Ghostbusters film.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that one of them was black would be it was woke.
Yeah,
oh,
today.
It's DEI. They put DEI, 1/4 of them. Well, black people don't make up 1/4 of the American population. They're being disproportionately... The blacks are taking over. It's white replacement.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they've always done this. Like, white supremacy has always done this. Sexists have always done this. It's just he wasn't listening before.
Yeah.
He thought that they weren't doing what they were doing. They've always been doing this.
He only seemed to notice racism in 2016.
Yes.
What?
Well,
are you fucking joking?
Trump doing a anti-government, a coup attempt. Is that kind of like what brought it into clarity here for you? That is.
Well, no. To be fair, that was 4 years later. You got to give him that. Just chronologically, that doesn't work as an argument.
All right.
But the point being, America's been very racist for a long time. So,
yes, since its foundation, before it was founded, since the first white people arrived.
No, those were good
Columbus
British
arrived,
people.
Since Columbus arrived and started enslaving people.
Well, those were bad white people, but with the good British white people before, that was fine. And then you did shop, and then then the Americans stole our land and created their own country, and then it got bad again. So, fact.
Who should not be black, to determine if a woman is being portrayed in a role that has deviated too far from their traditional expectations, to determine if someone said or did something that was just too gay, because that would be pushing an agenda, which they call the message. Now it's all about deconstructing media with a fine-toothed comb to uncover any little detail that could possibly be used as red meat for a voracious anti-woke audience. Offense perfected. And they can be as triggered as they want to be. See, that's the double standard. This woman cannot afford to make a single frame of a funny face without her expression being immortalized in a billion thumbnails. But this guy can literally scream at the camera for
fucking pronouns.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too that he's again sort of going over his head. What Anita is doing or did has theoretical frame, like that's what happens in media studies. That happens in colleges all the time. It's part of like critical analysis is part of understanding media. Going and being offended because there's not enough white people or there's too many women is not critical analysis. It's just being fucking racist and sexist.
Fucking modern day California shit.
Yeah, like my white privilege, I'm not seeing enough of me represented as the most dominant, powerful group in society. And if I have to like see a black superhero, that's one too many.
Yeah.
One black superhero is too many. They all have to be white. They all have to be men. We can't have anything for anyone else. It all has to be about me, and the rest of the world is my supporting cast.
True.
15 minutes because an RPG asked the preferred pronoun for his character. And he even uses her face in his thumbnails. Hypocrisy perfected. This woman is quite routinely mocked. Another face of a billion memes and thumbnails, 5 seconds or so of uncontrolled despair about the President of the United States, a topic of actual consequence. But 15 minutes of even more rage over a pronoun in a video game. And the same people call it based. In 2015, on my alternate channel called Dark Antics, I made a satire critiquing the shallowness of social justice media criticism. It even picked up some traction in the mainstream media like The Independent. Basically, I used the format of nitpicking media that presented bald people in a negative light. This was as easy as pointing out all the many bad or evil characters who were bald, and pointing out the flaws of good characters who were bald. This was exceptionally easy to do, essentially a heads I win, tails you lose way of doing things. So no matter what narrative you want to push, you can use it to shoehorn perceived problems into virtually any movie. Now, in the description, I called it a criticism of how professional victims critique media. But notice that I never privated that video, like I did with my popular anti-SJW cartoon. Why? Well, because today, now, that video perfectly applies to the anti-woke. What happened is that they became what they hated. The anti-woke became the woke, or at least their own characterization of what the woke.
This is it. He's pretending like the woke brought this on themselves, when all it was is like people who are observing systemic racism or the way in which sexism is reproduced in our culture by when you put men in charge of making video games and the only audience they have in their heads are heterosexual men and maybe some lesbians. And they build a whole game around their own sexual fantasies. And then they put that out there as popular content for everyone to consume. Right?
The fact that you mentioned lesbians there means you're woke.
Yes. You know, and in pointing that out and saying, you know, that's kind of fucked up, and then having fragile white boys get all upset about criticism is not the same as them, you know, like defending racism and sexism.
Truth.
And dehumanization.
Truthiness.
Just not.
Yeah.
It's just not. Yeah. It's their truthiness, yeah.
Woke is. But it's even worse than that. The anti-woke perfected being their own characterization of woke. Turned it into a standardized business model even. Even their own slogan, get woke, go broke, is tacit admission. They took what Anita Sarkeesian pioneered and perfected it in the opposite direction. Now we have grown men with beards wearing flannel shirts, making millions of dollars, obsessively scrutinizing the development of the next Snow White movie. Grown men actively, earnestly seeking ways to be triggered by a Barbie movie. Ben Shapiro created a right-wing media empire, and yet there he is with the rest of them, burning Barbie dolls like a lunatic. This grown man with children had a camera set up in front of a metal garbage can so that he could do a toy-burning performance. It's literally performative outrage, the epitome of professional victimhood. They're so far in that they have no idea how embarrassing they are, how cringe they are. It's gotten to the point that a Fox News-addled 80-year-old can be more concerned about the wokes than about losing their social security. And lately, more and more, I'm thinking that's by design.
Yeah.
Well
done! The culture war is meant to distract people from the fact that the poor pay more in tax than fucking billionaires. Bravo!
You get people to hate their neighbors and they won't hate the CEOs.
Yeah, exactly. Divide and conquer, as always.
Also protect white male privilege.
Well, that is also
That's
true.
basically who's running this shit, right? And we can't have the rich white men be criticized. Because then the people get together and pull shit down.
Yep. One CEO at a time. Look, I'm still going to do the Luigi is cool memes. For now. We'll wait and see if he's actually Unabomber type. I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest with you. Red flags. Mm-hmm. Lots of red flags going on.
Agreed.
Thank you, Executioner, for resubscribing with Prime. Much love. Don't forget you can give me money in the form of bits and subs and memberships and super chats. If you wanted to. It's a thing.
Those are things you can do.
Yeah.
Observed this massive transition, I realized that it was not wokeness that I disliked. It was obsessive behavior and having to walk on eggshells around people. And obsessive behavior is not exclusive to wokeness, nor is it even a requisite of it. Right now, today, the anti-woke behaves 100 times more like the woke than the woke used to. Right now, today, I self-censor more when I talk to someone I consider anti-woke than someone I consider woke. I have to eliminate entire words from my vocabulary, like cis, or privilege, or patriarchy, or transphobic, and a million other words, because I know it will trigger a defense response that will completely shut down their ability to listen to what I actually say, or have a good faith conversation at all. And I learned that from experience. An especially potent drug of the anti-woke is trans people. I don't really understand why, but when some people start being critical of trans people, they never stop. It's addictive to them. It snowballs.
I'm going to call this the Nancy Mace effect.
Oh, I was going to call it the J.K. Rowling effect, but...
It works, but that's Nancy Grace.
Lord Freeters
is it Nancy
donated
Grace?
$5.
Yeah.
That one.
Mace.
Mace.
It's a me,
Yeah.
Luigi Despunky Faglioni Alfredo.
Thank you, Lord Freetus, for whatever the fuck that was. Again, you are a lunatic. I fucking love you. The Nancy Mace effect, right? That people, if you look at her Twitter or her social media profile at all, it's literally just trans. She literally released a digital wallpaper that you can have on your computer, which is, and it's the word balls isn't on it. It's literally two baubles, but it says no balls in our bathroom stalls, but with the balls as baubles because it's a Christmas themed thing. And you think, do you talk about anything else? You're a fucking congressperson.
Yeah.
There's nothing else happening in America that you could actually be fucking dealing with.
Yeah. No. She's riding that cash cow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a whole cottage industry to be made out of it. You know?
I hate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's
It's
very
not like
lucrative.
criticizing. The whole thing about the woke stuff is that it's criticizing systems. It's criticizing, I don't know, shooting people.
Yeah.
Cops shooting people, or people being harassed in the streets, like actual problems.
Yeah.
As opposed to like just being a bully for the sake of it.
Yeah. Nancy Grace was a CNN pundit. Yes. That's who I'm mixing up there.
Like a law show or something. She used to
See
cover.
all these stupid
These white people.
These white women. I can't tell you apart.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'll just walk around. I see a white person and go, Christy, what are you doing here? And they're like, I'm not Christy. Oh, sorry,
What?
you look like Christy. Oh, okay.
You're white, right?
Oh,
You're
hello,
white, right?
Christy. Oh no, that's not you either. Okay.
And eventually becomes their entire personality, obsessive. It's really sad to see. I think there have been people who have done that with Donald Trump, in which they talk about nothing else except Donald Trump. So they were accused of having Trump derangement syndrome. Of course, that term is thrown around too loosely now to describe anyone who merely criticizes him, which is ridiculous. But originally, it was meant to describe people who were obsessed with Donald Trump, people who would bring him
saw
up
he was a
out of
fascist?
the blue when nobody else was talking about him. And I think that...
Oh, when other people did it, it was too annoying. But now that I agree, it's fine. I'm just getting a lot of that vibe. Like, now that I figured it out, it's worth talking about. But before, when I disagreed, then it was too much. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess, but like, I suppose he's just describing how he used to feel. So like, I mean, I'm glad he's a bit better now, but like, okay.
Yeah, just like, but derangement syndrome again was always meant to discredit people who were calling him a fascist, like you and me from the beginning.
True, we were ahead of the curve.
We were.
Concept now perfectly applies to people who get lost in anti-trans rhetoric. They have trans derangement syndrome. No matter the topic, they'll bring up trans people. They'll ask you, what is a woman? Out of the blue. Trans people are constantly on their minds, obsessive. The most prominent of these people is J.K. Rowling. Obsession with trans people seems to be very detrimental to her mental health, to the point in which it's 90%.
Well, that and the mold in her house eating away at her brain probably doesn't help. Imagine unironically retweeting Bill Maher. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That is tragic.
Percent of what she talks about now. But before that, she was a normal person who experienced a wonderful dream of writing a successful series of novels that were beloved worldwide and became classic movies.
Whereas even now, the people who run what was the World Quidditch organization, the fake sport that she invented in her books that people decided to play because, okay, whatever, fucking nerds. Anyway, but they're not hurting anyone. They've renamed it something else now because they don't want to be associated with her. Even the people who play the made-up sport that she created because they loved her book so much and want nothing to do with her. She's completely destroyed herself. But you know, growing old alone in a castle is probably, you know, it's lovely. Enjoy loneliness.
Yeah, she can wipe her tears away with £100 notes.
True, but you can't. As Elon Musk knows all too well, which is why he dampens the problem with drugs, you can't buy actual affection.
No, God, no. And nobody really wants to. I mean, they'll have babies with him, but they won't actually spend time with him.
Yeah, you know, you can buy like sex. You can buy fawning yes men.
Yep.
You can't buy actual love.
Nope.
And
or respect.
He's unlovable.
Cultural icon and was basically given a...
You can cover up sexual assault with a horse. Is also a thing that apparently you can do.
Blank page to write whatever she wanted and have a massive, highly enthusiastic audience for it. But what did she do instead? She became obsessed with the steady dopamine drip of anti-trans Twitter. It's sort of like watching an Olympic gold medalist destroy their body with crack cocaine. I gradually realized that I don't have a problem with woke people. They're just people with opinions like anyone else, and they may be opinions with which I agree or disagree. No big deal. But what I do have a problem with is obsession. And what I learned was that woke people were being unjustly portrayed solely as the obsessive ones. And that's far from the truth.
Finally.
What anti-woke critics often tell you is that they're all sick and tired of politics being inserted into everything. But politics has been a major part of art throughout all of history.
True. The very same people who are like, what, you know, when they have like a rainbow armband or something on players, they'll be like, oh, keep politics out of sport. Loved it when Trump turned up to the UFC.
Oh, yeah.
They love the US military paying to have military appreciation days in the NFL. They literally spend hundreds of millions of dollars to have flybys for like the Air Force and a big fucking American flag and a military band. That's fine.
Also, yeah, remember, non-political means a white guy is the star. He's got a love interest who's probably a white woman. Black people are like, I don't know, his helpers or the guys that they're chasing. right? Their culture is political because it's about reproducing the status quo of power, right? And that's political.
Yeah.
So the other thing I was going to say is, if you tell me that how all these like really annoying woke people are out there saying these woke things, who are they? Right, we can talk about Matt Walsh. We can talk about Ben Shapiro. We can talk about Nick Fuentes. We can talk about Sargon, even though we haven't talked about him for a while. Andy Worski's, all the channels out there pushing out the crap, making the money, right? Who was making tons of money on the left? You going to say maybe Avash, maybe Hassan? That's two.
That's two and relatively recent. Yeah.
Yes, right. But so this whole thing that like woke people were being really annoying, who?
Yeah.
Who was being annoying? No, you had racists and
no.
sexist.
Who was the president of China?
Yes, making picking up extremes of individuals and then again portraying that. So the false his mistake was thinking that that these people who were criticizing people who were aware of sexism and racism were honest brokers. He's like, oh, you're a white guy. I'm a white guy. I can trust you. When we make fun of people who aren't white guys.
True.
Basically, and I'm glad he's coming around, but I think there's a little still a little bit of lack of self-reflection in this that could be taken a bit further.
True. Thank you to Luigi_Mangione for following. Welcome to the Kevolution. I presume whichever one of you knobheads set that up, you got there slightly too late to get the one without the underscore. Someone already took that shit, presumably. Someone should gift a sub to Luigi_Mangione so that whoever that has probably has 2 fucking subscriptions to my channel. Much love to you. Anyway, yes. As we were.
What they really mean is that they only want their preferred politics to be portrayed.
True.
It's even worse if one of the things that defines you is seen as political. Because then, how could you possibly have anything to do with art without someone accusing you of making it political? Suddenly, it's political to have an interracial relationship in a movie, or political if someone who is gay is in a video game. The word political just becomes proxy for bigotry.
Thank you.
I don't like politics in my media. Yes. Oh, what's politics? Well, black people, gay people, strong, independent women, etc. Oh, see, the word political is doing a lot of work there, isn't it? You want to be a bigot, but you don't want to be seen as a bigot. They want their cake and they want to eat it too, you see. Remember when I said that my mere existence as a non-believer offended religious people? Well, it turns out that I wasn't alone. The existence of all kinds of other people can be considered quite offensive and quite triggering if they dare to set foot out of the closet and into any sort of popular media. Let's do a little thought experiment. 2 movies.
See, I'm glad he's made the turn.
Yeah, it took him a while to get there.
It was, unfortunately.
No, better late than never. Better late than never. It's good.
True. Hello there, depleted. What the fuck? Whatever the hell that is. I like the fact that your first chat, you've been subscribed or been following me for a little while. Your first chat was to ask if Luigi_Mangione has been put in Twitter jail. Nice. Oh no, Twitch jail, sorry. Thank you, Salsald Snake, for gifting a sub too. Can you guess who it was, Krista?
Luigi?
It was Luigi. It was.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Directed by James Cameron, are extremely beloved and quite unique because they are sequels to classics, and it is widely accepted that unlike most sequels, not only did he respect the source material, but many would argue that he actually improved upon it. And those 2 movies are, of course, Terminator 2 and Aliens. Now, I very much enjoyed both of those movies, and so did most other people who watched them. I saw them both in the theaters on the first day they were released. And to many of us, they were a major part of our
childhood. You're so fucking old. Piece of shit. No, I'm only joking.
Childhoods. And for that reason, they get grandfathered in to the anti-woke movement. so that they are off limits. They are even used as the quintessential go-to examples that anti-woke critics will use to show how women protagonists should be done. And that
exactly, but the thing is, as with all conservatism, it's they're happy with things until they're about 10, 12 years old. And then everything that comes after that is bad and new and scary. Yeah. And it's basically, the psychology behind it is they were comfortable and safe and happy as children, and then as they realised the world around them wasn't what they thought, they get very scared and defensive about everything.
They want to keep everything like it was in 1987.
Exactly. When I was born.
They are not bigots after all, because they also enjoyed those movies. But imagine if either one of those movies came out now. Exactly, it's a very different climate now. And those
like people, they didn't react to it in that way because they weren't being told by conservative media to be outraged by this.
Exactly.
Movies would be prime material to be deconstructed by anti-woke critics, which essentially can be done to literally any movie because it's just shallow ideological offense hunting. You see, Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor are essentially the exact same person with the exact same character arc. They both started out as vulnerable women in horror movies being hunted by a seemingly unstoppable monster. And then, in their sequels, they both become iconic badasses protecting their children, fighting back against the monsters in action-oriented movies. Now, as an anti-woke critic, you might say that they both transitioned from women to men. And this would no doubt be part of some nefarious woke agenda. Maybe you could even mention something about Yuri Bezmenov. Now, how would these movies be broken down by an anti...
But just to deconstruct that one for you, Yuri Bezmenov was a Soviet who claimed that the Soviet Union, even though it was over, had planted they'd planted agents all throughout the United States that were going to grow up and be the cultural leaders of tomorrow. It's right-wing conspiracy bait nonsense.
Oh, okay.
But when you see someone mention Yuri Bezmenov in any way, they are deep in the source.
Okay.
That is some like high-level like anti-SJWism.
Woke critic if they came out today.
Or anti-woke.
Well, look at Sarah Connor. She went from being a classically feminine woman desired by the man who came to save her to a ripped masculine woman who fights like a man. In the first movie, she knew her place.
Do exactly what I say. Exactly. Don't move unless I say. Don't make a sound unless I say. Do you understand?
But in the second movie, she's the one giving the men orders.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I'm not gonna let you do it.
I need clothes, food, and one of your trucks.
Hey, how about the feelings out of my fucking teeth?
Now, Enrique.
Look at Ellen Ripley, an attractive young woman who stood no chance against a single alien that killed the entire crew of her ship, someone who the camera did not shy away from when it came to seeing her feminine body. But in the second movie, with zero training, she managed to out-survive and outgun an entire elite Marine platoon.
Yeah, they call them both, was it Sue Ellen? Is that what they call them?
Oh, is that where the term comes from?
Yeah, where it's like, oh, an untrained girl is able to take on all of the boys and win. It's that thing.
Yeah. Who all died except for the one corporal who needed her to save him. They chopped off all her hair and dropped her into a world where the women wear men's suits and have more muscles than the men do. In the first movie, the Terminator was badass, but in the second movie, they turned him into a punchline, no doubt an influence of the woke MCU. What would they say about the man who was most directly responsible for the development of Skynet, and hence the nuclear holocaust? Oh, Miles Bennett Dyson, an obvious DEI hire?
Told you.
No wonder Skynet.
That's literally the point I promise you I didn't pre-watch this bit. Literally, they'd say, the Ghostbusters, 25% of them are black. This is the woke DEI, agenda to replace the white man.
Happened.
And then, of course, they kill a big white man at the end. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which is meant to represent the white patriarchy, clearly. The wokes.
If only.
What's this? John Connor is a juvenile delinquent and ends up in a foster home with shitty parents, all white people? While Dyson has a fully intact, happy nuclear family, obvious Hollywood propaganda. The first time the colonial Marines encounter the aliens, it's a slaughter. But who saves them? Gorman, a lieutenant of the Marines? No, of course not. He naturally panics and freezes. But Ripley, the invincible Mary Sue, takes control, charges in, and saves everybody.
Yes, not Sue Ellen, Mary
Wait a
Sue.
minute, what did I call them, by the way?
White people,
Colonial
mate.
Marines? You mean colonizers, right? And what happens to them? They all get killed. Yet another obvious heavy-handed Hollywood message: kill the colonizers. But what's the main reason they all die? Well, they got stranded. How'd they get stranded? Their dropship crashed. Who was piloting their dropship? DEI hire, that's who. And how was Sarah and the gang able to get past security of Cyberdyne Systems? DEI hire. In the first movie, Sarah did nothing but run and hide, but now she fights like a man and beats up only men. But I'm sure that isn't part of some woke agenda, right, Hollywood? By the way, Sarah Connor wasn't the only one who transitioned from female to male in Terminator 2. See, the first Terminator was very obviously male, but the new modern woke Terminator, it literally transitions from female to male right before our very eyes, multiple times. Is it male? Is it female? Neither.
The Terminator is the transgender. Fact.
The Transinator?
True.
They're both, apparently, it's what the wokes call gender fluid. Wait a minute. Liquid metal, gender fluid? The Hollywood message is in it.
Yes. True.
Again, and when it transitions into a man, it's not just any man, but a cop. Multiple different cops. Of course, they have to play into the ACAB narrative by presenting the cop as the bad guy, spitting in the face of the classic first movie where the cops were the good guys, but now they're the bad guys. And where does Sarah and John Connor find help from this unstoppable cop? Well, with a bunch of illegals, of course. They're helpless without the illegals who supply them with plenty of illegal guns to fight against the invincible...
Sorry, is this actually just a fucking quartering video now? I think it is. I think we've just transitioned.
Yes.
Cop, just try to be a little more heavy-handed with the message, Hollywood. We're not getting it yet. And what's the true nature of the aliens anyway? Why are they such formidable opponents? Well, all the aliens you actually see are just lowly male drones serving a queen. That's right, in the first movie, the alien was a Sigma male. But in the second movie, it's a matriarchy.
There's like one female that runs the whole show.
Yes, the queen.
Yeah, the mama. She's badass, man. I mean big.
Ripley charges in and starts aborting all the unborn aliens, which of course triggers the queen, who chases...
Pro-abortion.
Yeah, true.
After Ripley. And
well, you know, Planned Parenthood made this film.
Exactly,
Fact.
How does she end up defeating the queen anyway? Oh, that's right. Remember that scene where...
Oh, again, another Elon Musk beauty. Defund the ACLU.
You fucking moron. He's such...
Except, of course, the ACLU doesn't get a cent in public money.
No. Unless he's just saying, like, stop giving it money, but then he should have just said, don't donate to the ACLU.
Well, exactly, yeah, well...
Would have mocked him.
Yeah. When we say defund the police, it's, you know...
Yes,
public
like,
money.
taxpayer funded. Yeah. Like, reimagining policing, where you have social service workers coming out for... Like, honestly, they're overwhelmed. Like, we ask way too much of police, and it's not surprising that they do a shit job, because you hire people who really want to be like bouncers at bars and shoot people, and then they have to do mental health crisis interventions.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Indeed.
Where she proves that a woman can use a loader better than the men.
Well, of course, you know who gets lots and lots of public money?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, yeah. I'm guessing the Doge will find that that's actually very efficiently used, and you can't cut a single cent of that money.
Oh no, that's important money. Yeah, that's really important.
Trained Marine men who have no choice but to protect their fragile egos by laughing at her. Well, that's what she uses to face the queen, a strong black female.
She knew. And nobody believed her.
Now, I could go on and on and on and on, but clearly the point is that the timeless classics Alien and Terminator were bastardized by woke Hollywood sequels nobody asked for.
True.
All right, that's enough. You get the idea. It's analysis that's so shallow. You can literally invent offense into anything you want and then claim it's part of some nefarious agenda. It's so insufferable when someone uses their own obsessive ideology to drive their criticism of something. Now, if you don't want an agenda-driven critique of movies in either direction, You can look to someone like a Jeremy Johns or a Red Letter Media to give a more objective and knowledgeable critique of movies, but not the people who are constantly on the hunt for wokeism so that they can feed outrage to their audiences. You know who they are. And that's their purpose. It isn't to provide you with any insight about whether you would like or dislike a movie or game. It's to provide you with anger. Anger sells. Anger gets clicks. Outrage. The objective is now to make you mad, brah. And by the old standard, they're owning their own audiences, and their own audiences don't even realize it. So yeah, 10 years ago, I jumped on that anti-woke bandwagon ever so briefly before I realized what it actually was. An obsessive hypocrite.
It was not so brief. I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I think there was some identity politics going on there myself.
A little bit.
Critical ideology that was rooted in demographic hatred. Much respect to the people who never jumped on board that bandwagon.
High five
you
for us.
You were way ahead of the curve. Now, if you were on it until...
I appreciate the shout out.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, more recently, well, at least you found your way off eventually. It takes a lot of integrity to admit when you're wrong, especially after being wrong for several years. We should always be willing to forgive and welcome. Now, if you're still on that bandwagon, what the fuck are you doing? Get your shit together. Now we even have people who were prominent atheists like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins and Ayaan Hirsi Ali crying about the wokeness boogeyman to the point that some of them are...
To be fair, Ayaan Hirsi Ali has always been sort of that way. Like, she was one of the early adopters of the Geert Wilders bullshit. Like, she's always been a bit of a cunt. But, and to be fair, Sam Harris has always been a cunt as well. He's always been a Zionist piece of shit. Whereas Dawkins, I will give him the somewhat of the benefit of the doubt that he used to be vaguely okay. And I don't know if it's age or wealth or whatever the fuck it is, but he's definitely made a turn for the worse.
What I think it is with Dawkins is that he actually wasn't, for all of his prominence, right? He wasn't actually exposed to the world. He lived in that Oxbridge bubble, right? That's true. Of whiteness and maleness. And women that were there weren't really the kind of women in STEM that were challenging him, or like saying, that's a really sexist thing to say, where he, his fragility was always protected. And then when he got out into the world and actually had to like deal with people as equals, this is when you get, I think cultural Christianity is morally superior and all this kind of bullshit. It's basically his comfort zone, right? He doesn't want to have to deal with people who are different from him. And so he, gets all kind of fragile and whiny.
Yeah. Harrison Dawkins or actually no, you know what, Matt, you do make a good point. He was a bit Islamophobic back in the day.
Oh God, yeah, he's always about cultural, that and of course the whole sexism thing with Rebecca Watson, right?
Oh shit! Actually, you know what? Yeah, no, you know what? My mea culpa.
Women should just put up with that shit from men. Yeah, because that's how it's always been done. Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Hang on, someone said something up here that I missed. What was it? Oh, fuck's sake. Oh, yeah, I'd watch a video of him claiming how old films was woke. Yeah, no, I enjoyed the shit out of that. Someone needs to get on that. That's the new thing. Take the piss out of the anti-woke by doing, go crazy, go all the way back. Do like Citizen Kane or some shit.
God, do like Charlton Heston in the Moses being Moses.
Charlton Heston is woke. Yeah. Fuck yes. Yeah, do those. Well, do those old spaghetti westerns. Mm-hmm. The Clint Eastwood is the biggest badass in the world, but you can make it about woke. You can because again, as he says, it's shallow bullshit, nitpicky rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
Are even claiming to be culturally Christian or even outright fully Christian now. That's how shallow the nature of this beast has become. But why Christianity? Well, because they're not buying into real Christianity, the Christianity of Jesus Christ, which is very woke and concerned with the downtrodden and marginalized. They're buying into the modern, commercialized, propagandized, far-right version of Christianity because they think it's a bulwark against wokeness. It's really sad to see It's like watching a starving person voraciously eat poison.
Weird place to cut it off.
I'm curious before you click off the comments. What do the comments look like?
Oh, okay. Ben Shapiro completely lost it when he was interviewing on British TV by a right-winger. The reason he was being held to account for his own words. Exactly, yeah. That was the famous interview with Andrew Neil. Where he claimed that Andrew Neil was a leftist.
Oh, God, yeah.
Amazing. Well, politics understander Ben Shapiro, yeah. Amazing. Oh, Cat Black responded. Oh, hang on. Hello. I was in a just my claim to fame. I was in a Cat Black video. Just saying. I did a voiceover in her anarchism video, and I helped her with the research for her alt-right videos. And she's written a fucking book. Okay. As an old subscriber who was there before your shift, I appreciate you speaking about this. To me, the important context is that woke is a term that started within the black community, and was Christy made that point. Love it. Blatant pre-read, obviously.
I'm just giving just white people stealing more shit.
Yeah, true.
Pattern to history.
And was meant to be used within the context of black people who are speaking to each other. It wasn't really meant to be used beyond that context. So it's actually very intentional that the term has been bastardized.
Exactly.
Something that's taken me a bit of the process that became very clear to me in the exit polls is that white Americans have always really feared unity and consciousness amongst black people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why our education is so important. It's why our communities are underfunded and there are hurdles. I suppose that's supposed to be hurdles to move up in society. So bastardizing language used to bring black people together to have a consciousness of all that is very, very, very intentional. Do you want to read on? Or should
No. I'm just kind of curious if he's getting love or hate. So
okay. The fuck your feelings crowd have a lot of feelings. True. Yeah. You are what you hate. I'm still not a billionaire. True. I don't think I speak for us all when I say I am Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, we're waiting to see that.
Je suis Luigi. What he said around 7-minute mark is so painfully relatable. As a young girl, I kept being bombarded with disparaging remarks about women by the men in my life, and it made me feel such shame and fear about growing up. Would my father, grandfather, and uncles no longer love me as I stopped being a girl and became a woman? It's nice to see traditional masculine men pushing back against the whole anti-woke mindset. True. Wow, I never sought out the original clip of the hysterical SJW lady. It just took it at face value. She was pretty damn chill in that interaction. True. Whereas the two blokes were screaming at each other.
Yeah.
But women are too emotional to be in politics.
Exactly.
I think that it's not necessarily the anger that is addicting, but the feeling of being superior to others.
Yep.
I like how anti-woke people call the people snowflakes, but they get pissy and hurt when Bud Light makes a rainbow beer can. True. Regarding your thought experiment, it's kind of wild how easy it is to frame older movies as woke. No effort required to find all of those gripes. Thanks for putting this together. Calling the xenomorph queen a strong black female is killing me. I always... Oh, that's TJ1. Hello. The one janitor.
Yeah.
The other Kevin from the other Birmingham.
Yeah.
I always said that the only thing that kept me from being an anti-SJW was how insufferable the anti-SJW community was. Fair dues. Any other famous people? I don't want to just fucking.
No, but that was interesting. I was kind of I was curious. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Anyway, yes.
Well, I think that's late enough for a school night.
Is it a school night?
Yeah, Monday. I got work in the morning.
You don't go to school, Christy. You go to work at a school. Kind of.
I'll be going to school in the summer when I teach my class.
Yeah, Christy's a professor.
Well, no, I'm not a professor, but
you are a professor.
The idea is for me to eventually become a professor. Yes,
that's the goal. Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, Christy, what have you got coming up on your channel?
Nothing. What have we got coming up on your channel?
Tomorrow, probably some Prime Minister's questions.
Okay.
I imagine, because it's Wednesday. No, it's not. It's Tuesday. You prick.
It is Tuesday.
So
yeah.
no, nothing. Basically, I don't know.
Watch this space.
Yeah, it'll be something. I don't fucking know. I'll send you over to the Surfs on YouTube. Bye bye YouTube. And on Twitch. Who's going on Twitch that I can kick everyone over to? Probably the Surfs as well, but I like to mix it up. Oh, No Justice is going. I'll send you over there. I was on with her yesterday. We had a good time in...
Oh, that's good.
In general. Anyway, thank you, everybody. You won't be back Friday. You're in Belgium.
I'm in Belgium. Yeah, I leave Wednesday. Yeah,
nice.
That's true.
Nice. How long are you gone for?
Till Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm back on Saturday.
Well, so maybe if we reconvene this time next week, then.
Yes, it will be a week from today.
Awesome.
I will next be around.
Cool. Well, enjoy your travels.
Yeah, and everyone be well until then.
Go and take a picture next to the pissing boy statue.
I don't know if I'll have time, but I will see what I can do.
Christy, you still haven't been to fucking Wuppertal. At least get me pissing boy photo action. That's it's a statue. It's a statue. Leave me alone.
I was gonna say, don't clip that.
Whoa, that is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Evan, you and your mouth, I swear.
On that cancellation bombshell.
Mm-hmm.
It's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from Christy. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Christy.
Goodbye, Christy.